Welcome to the Hop Edition podcast, brought to you in association with The Malt Miller, your go-to choice for premium homebrewing ingredients and equipment. Whether you're a beginner starting out or an experienced brewer, The Malt Miller has got you covered. So for top quality products and customer service, jump over to themaltmiller.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our Patreons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition. Now it's time to get this pod started, so crack open a homebrew and enjoy the episode. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Hop Edition. It's the UK's most prominent and longest running homebrew podcast. And as always, we're here to talk about homebrewing. So today we are chatting to Ed from Algebrew, one of the UK's newest craft breweries operating out of Petersfield in Hampshire. So we're going to be sampling some of Algebrew's finest offerings, hand selected by Ed for the drink along pack, which hopefully some of you will be enjoying at home as you watch this. Or maybe even as you listen to it afterwards over the weekend. But yeah, if you did manage to drink that, we'll let you know what order we're going on. We probably won't get through all six during the episode itself, but we'll certainly be taking out a few of them and maybe having a few more on the afters, depending on how we go. So as we work through those beers, we're going to pick Ed's brains about his journey so far from homebrew to commercial setup. And hopefully find out some interesting info along the way. So grab those cans if you have them and get settled in for tonight's pod. But before we get started with that, as always, a huge thank you to our partner sponsor, the Malt Miller, the premier supplier of all things homebrew. So for all of your homebrewing needs, check out themaltmiller.co.uk. And while you're there, don't forget to check out their dedicated Hop Edition recipe section. You can find a range of beers featured on the podcast, including our own creations and some absolute stunners from our guests. Maybe after this evening, there may even be a recipe from Algebrew up on there. We'll see how we get on. So just a couple of things to note at the moment with the Malt Miller. They are running a wet hop or whole cone leaf competition. You'll have to read the details on that to make sense of why it's wet hop or whole cone comp, but they're doing that with track. There's only 100 entries for that competition. The judging itself, I believe, is late October. So that one's worth looking into if you are interested in competitions and so on, especially if you are growing your own hops at home or able to source some fresh locally. So check that out. Obviously, one that I'm definitely going to be interested in, with it being based around track and potentially the opportunity to go up there for the competition itself. And who knows, even to brew a beer there if you are the lucky winner. So, that's one to think about. But also, at the moment, there is 16% off all grain recipe kits for this weekend, with England making it into the last 16 of the World Cup. If you're into that sort of thing. Whew, that did feel like a long intro.
How are you feeling about it, Andy?
About what?
England being in the last 16.
Who are you playing against next? Who am I supporting?
Mexico!
You need a sombrero.
I know.
Yeah. So, anyway, before we get into the weeds of World Cup football and how Scotland got on, let's start talking to our guest, Ed. So, Ed, we're going to get into these six packs and this six pack of beers. So you might as well tell us about the first beer and then what are the other ones that were in the drink along pack, but probably maybe focusing on the four that we're going to start off with to get us going tonight. So what's the first beer up, Ed, and what are the other ones that we're going to look at tonight for the guys who are drinking along with us?
Yeah, of course. Hi all. Thank you very much. So we are starting off with Standard Deviation. So this is our Kolsch style lager. my most brewed beer, actually, which when I started Algebrew, I did not think it would be. But I can kind of come on to custom demand, why I brew loads of this, and kind of the customers that take it. I'll come back to that. I guess the first four we're drinking, we'll then move on to Elegant Proof, which is our 3.8 New Zealand pale. So brewed exclusive with Nelson Sauvin hops. Again, a bit of a story around how I stumbled across that recipe with a slight accident, and why I've picked that. Then we move on to Complex Plain, which is our Damson Sour, a beer I'm pretty proud of for various reasons. Again, a style that I've come away from quite a lot. I used to homebrew a lot of sours. Now I don't really brew them. Again, from a kind of customer trade market, but this is one bit I'm particularly proud of. And then Unit Vector, which is again a 6% NEPA, a recipe that I've tweaked a few times, and we'll get onto that. And then if we get further, Double Ratio, my first birthday beer, which I released 2-3 weeks ago, which is basically a double version of Golden Ratio, which is my other best-selling beer. And then we've also got, and then Null Space, which is a kind of an adjunct-free stout, which about 4 customers asked me for, because basically they've ended up having coffee in all of their stouts. I do a coffee stout, but they asked me for, can I just have a normal stout? So I brewed that. We probably won't get onto that. So yeah, that's the 6.
Fantastic. That's quite a lineup. Definitely a few beers I think we're going to be keen to get into there. We're all supping away on this Kolsch already, so I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we start diving into the details of the beers themselves, do you want to just give us the sort of Algebrew backstory and little bit of history to the brewery, and again your sort of like background in terms of homebrew and what kit you're now working with, etc., etc.
Yeah, of course. What's quite nice about doing this is I can get the name out before people read it. So it is Algebrew. My local bar, everyone walks in and asks for Algebrew, and then asks, is it brewed with algae? And it's not the clearest of branding, but once you kind of get it. So yeah, as a few of you will know, and you can kind of see from my website, it's all maths themed. So I started homebrewing probably 10 years ago. Actually, I started homebrewing at university, like everyone does. The kind of classic Wilco, you get the treacle in like a little tub like that, and you mix it up. And the first one was really good, and then turns out sanitizing with fairy liquid isn't what you do, and it got worse, and worse. And then I went stovetop, so real classic, about 5 liters, which I can't remember how I got. That was pre-malt Miller for me, actually. I can't remember where I used to get that kit from, but I kind of went straight for extraction, using malts, etc., and bottling into the little plastic bottles. And then when I moved to Petersfield, actually, a good friend of mine, Matt, who I kind of unofficially started Algebrew with, we both have maths degrees, so that was the whole link to Algebrew. So we both got maths backgrounds. He kind of started off with the branding, did already labeling and stuff, and much to my wife's horror, I think day 2 we moved in, the Grainfather G30 arrived, because we talked about it for so long, and we did our first brew on that. Time he got it was like 8 o'clock, nothing was unpacked. We finished that first brew at like 5 a.m. It's an incredible bit of kit. I'll come on to I still brew on it, but that first day was absolutely, when you're unpacking it, read the instructions, bringing kind of your liquor up to temperature and stuff. It's quite a long brew day. It was actually a very drinkable beer, and one I have replicated since. But yeah, that was kind of the starting piece there. Did that for about 5 years. Real untapped obsessives, less so now. I think as a sort of slightly more commercial brewery, it has so many flaws that it's frustrating, but also a really useful tool. Somebody who doesn't have a tap room, it's a useful place to get feedback, as long as you accept that dippers get scored 5s, lagers get scored 2. Once you accepted that, it's fairly useful tool. But yeah, we were massive from day one. We would it was all about labeling, all about. I didn't want to turn commercial at that point, but we just wanted to create a brand that we're proud of, and it's just a really fun thing. So we brewed every other Wednesday evening, got pretty drunk kind of after we'd done that, and then played darts, and that was our routine. We had an unofficial bubble during COVID, so I moved down to Petersfield in 2020. And then, that was probably about 5 years of home brewing. I'm probably rambling now a little bit, but that was kind of the start of it, essentially.
Amazing.
So Ed, Algebrew's been going? When was your first birthday?
So I've called my first, but it's quite hard to work out a first birthday when I brewed my first beer, which is first derivative, an ESB, and then it sat in tank for 4 months while I worked out how to get all my licensing and stuff. And that with a huge amount of advice from people who've done similar, if people ask me what's it like going commercial, it's a lot of paperwork. It's not expensive. It's just a lot of time and stuff. So I worked out my first day would be when I poured my first beer in my local bar, the Townhouse in town in Petersfield, and I went and had my first drink. I then happened to another bar who supports me really well from Beer to Eternity down in Haven. They stock a lot of my beers, and I was doing a tap takeover there on the same day a year later. So I was like, that works out. That could be my first birthday. So yeah, about early June is kind of when I'm now going to celebrate birthdays going forward and plan to do special beers and stuff. So yeah, been about 13 months essentially, and yeah, done quite a lot in that space.
I think one of the things that struck me looking at your website, and it's a very cool website because you've got all the beers on there, is the breadth of style that you've got. Is that kind of your homebrew roots coming through and just experimentation and trying to work out perhaps what the consumer likes, or is that just going to be like a continuation for you in you're always going to have variety?
Always have variety. Yeah, it's a bit of both. So it's a continuation of homebrew. People ask me a lot, like what's been useful about being a homebrewer. The big thing is we brewed 200 different beers over 5 years. Like we just constantly change. You try and nail your hazy IPA, you try and nail your styles, right? But actually, we just brewed a lot of different beers. What I really enjoy doing, probably first 6 months of homebrew was all about learning the new kit and working out what pubs wanted, what I was going to sell, put a few things in can, but actually it's about what works on keg. And you quite quickly work out hazy IPA sells in about 5 seconds. Everything else is a little bit harder. Cask scale sells really well around here as well. So I've pushed that and I've kind of done different things. But what I've loved getting back into is I still brew. So at the moment I'm doing a big house renovation. So we'll come on to kind of, career and various things and why I turned commercial. But I'm trying to brew in as short a space of time as possible to get back to basically labouring for my builders to save as much money on our house front. You can probably see the wires hanging down. This is first fix electrics coming through my ceiling at the moment, which is always fun. This is our study bedroom and kids' playroom basically at the moment. But yeah, essentially I love brewing different styles of beers. What I now do is every week I brew on my grandfather without fail. I've done collaborations on it. And I've got all my fermenters are Brutals, and I've got one of the F30s, and I brew a beer on that every week. And I either do a keg for someone who's asked for something, a birthday beer for someone, or something a bit different, or I can all of it and get on the website. And that's my kind of slight passion project. But that's brewing real traditional styles that I know I can't sell lots of kegs of, essentially. So that I've got a 30-litre, two 150s, and a 300-litre fermenter. The 300 is my lager, my hazy IPA. That's the stuff that I can just churn out kegs of, and I know they'll sell, and I've got regular customers. The 30-litre, and that I think is my USP that I'm trying to do. I did the bruiser thing, which we're pretty confident it's a lot of work for one person doing 180 bruiser boxes. That's a lot of canning and labelling goes on. But yeah, I like being able to offer a 12 pack to customers. So kind of the people who are me essentially, the beer geeks who want to try different beers. Some of them are chasing the untapped numbers. I've been there and I've done all that. But yeah, so it's a nice blend, and I like brewing different beers. So I'll always take a few cans. A lot of breweries my size, if not bigger, will have 2-3 core beers and just brew them again and again and again and churn them out, and that's cool as well. And I have to do that as well. It's the blend of. I think I spoke to Andy Parker at Elusive very first when I was starting off, and he said it's the blend of trade versus retail that to make a business successful, which is what I want to try and make this do, staying small but be successful. And I think my way to do that is to just produce loads of different variety and then nail 5 or 6. I'm starting to learn already what sells. Like in terms of to pubs, if I can sell 30 litres, I've just done a collab with 10 Ton, another local brewery. They wanted a Rauk beer for their beer festival. a delicious smoked beer style, I'm not selling many kegs of that to local pubs. But it's quite cool that I can do that, and I'm very flexible in the fact that I might actually get another 30 litre just to be able to do that sort of thing, because that's not many can be as flexible as I can. I can just do these random brews and make them commercial essentially.
That's got to be a pet project for you, is it not? Because that's not going to be commercially viable just to spend time brewing that, just one 30-litre batch. I take it, is that just a learner thing for you at the minute?
To be honest, my background's in food retail, and so I think like a commercial business plan I didn't set out with a business plan. I just was an idiot who had a hobby that got a bit bigger. But now I look at it and go, actually, my way to make the most money per literage, even once I've done the canning and paid myself a bit of time and paid for cans and labels, etc. My biggest profit is going to be through cans to customers on the website. So actually, if I do 30 litres and can all that, there's a chunk of money there, and I can brew it alongside my other brew. So my brew day just is, it's not the easiest brew day. So I've got my 150 litre there boiling. I mash them in together because the G30s, I brewed on it with a collab the other day, and the brewer who, Dave up at 10 Tons, has never been a home brewer. So he's one of the rare brewers. Most of us start as home brewers and go. So he left school and started brewing. So he's always done it. So he's never brewed in that size kit. And he was like, "This is the best kit I've ever brewed on." It's just like, it's so like, it's so simple. Yeah, but not obviously not like, it's not powerful, but it's just so easy. It's all in one. You pull the basket up, and it's because I've brewed on it 200 times. It's just with my eyes closed. So I can make it. Yeah, I don't. It's not a separate brew day. When I'm mashing something else, I just chuck that alongside, and it's a more complicated brew day because I've got to think about 2 beers and there's timers going off everywhere. But if I can align them, it makes sense. And it's a pet project as well. But actually, commercially, if I can it all, or again, I can select to make 30 litres at retail price if they want it for a party, or I've started renting out porta pints at Linda's, and that's a nice little thing as well, where people can they can come and. One thing I'd like to get into is come brew a beer, come brew it on that size, and then have it for your wedding or whatever. So again, I can just be super flexible,
almost like a bespoke service. Yeah, that's quite unique.
And it is. It's some and some. Yeah.
And it's out of the garage as well. So it's your garage. Yeah. So, what did you do with the electrics then for the garage?
So I mean, I just kind of got it updated basically, and my brew kit, so it's an Elite stainless. I can't actually remember the breweries it went through, but it's really small, so it's only single phase, and I just got the garage on its own electrics and stuff. I have, as I say, I'm doing a big house project where we've now got solar all over the roof, which is kind of essential for. I'm burning through electricity.
That's going to help.
Yeah.
And we got a really good price when I was looking at like kind of putting in solar. We're doing as much as we can to a heat pump, etc., to be environmentally friendly. I spoke to the council, how much would 3-phase cost, and it was in the road. So it was very little. So I've now got 3-phase in. So my future brew kits can be bigger. Because expansion, which I think everyone asks me, we'll come on to. Expansion, I want to be at home for various reasons. I've seen models that I think I can work in my garage essentially, and spilling into the house quite significantly. But that's
You must have a very understanding wife, Ed.
Yeah, incredibly.
Is that kind of like a 500, 600 litre size kit you're thinking next is the next step, or bigger?
No, smaller. 300 I want.
3?
I think I can make it work. There's a brewer. So I recently did, I think you're happy diverging, right? But I went to Munich recently. Me and a group of mates have started doing like a beer. We're too old for stag do's. So let's just do really nice. No one's an idiot. There's no shots. There's a few schnapps, but you just go to like a really cool beer city and do 3 days of like going to really nice tap rooms. And in Munich, we found two craft breweries, and they're both brewing on like kit size of mine, but they've got like 30 fermenters, both of them, and they're only doing their bars, and they're doing similar where they're brewing loads, putting out loads of different beers. And I think that's the model I want to do. I think you either go bigger and produce more of a few styles, but my model is I want to it's at the moment I double brew a 300 litre batch, which isn't sustainable long term. But regular brewing, it's kind of, I like doing the different styles, as I say. I've probably got space breweries doesn't need a lot of space, right? If you're organised, the Brutals kit's really small fermenters as well. For the 300 litres isn't a big bit of kit. If I have 6-7 fermenters, just brew regularly. That's the model I want to do. I think,
So
but it
How,
does change.
how often are you brewing now?
At the moment, because of the house build, it's a 2-week cycle essentially. So I basically package on a Monday. I brew Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, roughly, depending on how many. I do quite a few like long brew days again because there's a lot of like alarm goes off at 4, wake up, turn everything on. I've done a few mash-ins, go back to bed, go back an hour later, and then be like, cool, right, that's all gone well. And that's the flexibility again of not having a unit. I could be here. I can package and can in the evenings. Again, understanding wife, but she can go out and see her mates and do stuff, and I'm still at home with the kids, but I can just be labeling, be canning, which for me gives the flexibility that I wanted.
I guess brewing at that sort of scale makes a lot more sense when you're able to do it in your house as well, because you're not paying the rent for the extra unit. So yeah, I guess sort of Andy's question about the viability and stuff in terms of money, it's a different game when it's in your garage, right? So
from an expansion point of view, I've looked at why I got into this and why I want to do it. If I was to say buy a unit and pay 500 quid a month rent, it's like the amount of beer I'd have to sell to make profit to make 500 quid a profit is just so much more. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. Then you're paying staff, then you start, and then like to do that, I can get by as not having a tap room just about, because if I need to make my web shop quite successful, so I have to push that quite hard. But then you're staffing that, then you're working evenings, weekends, and I like going to the pub. I work shifts at mates' bars, right, for a bit of extra cash, but there's only one side of the bar I kind of really want to be on. I want to brew the beer, give it to someone.
Stu's getting excited for what you're saying, Ed. Guys, I'm conscious that I've only got this much Kolsch left, and we haven't talked
very similar.
about the Kolsch yet.
Just tanning it.
Should we get on to talking about this beer?
Yeah, so this came from a conversation around. So I didn't really think I'd brew much lager. So I kind of, I brewed lagers before, like home brewed them, like lagered them for weeks and months, and tried all the different things, because when you're tiny and you don't have fermenters that you need to be constantly full, you can try things. I went on holiday last summer, and a mate reached out from a local restaurant, essentially. Sky Park Farm, for anyone who's local to me, it's a beautiful like deer park farm. They got this amazing restaurant. They're running a festival, and he was like, "We want about 20 kegs of lager. Could you make it work?" And I was like, "Well, that's when you're new and setting out. I can't turn that opportunity down." But I just didn't have the time. So I spoke to a mate who's a brewer, and I was like, "Well, what do you think? How can we? Is that viable? Is that a thing you can do?" And I had about a week to turn it around, which obviously, any Germans listening, like, maybe turn off now, because this is not a pure recipe. But yeah, and I basically was like WHC High Voltage, did the research, and it flew. I think they wanted 7 kegs. The next day I was like running down with all the rest of it. I was kegging out the fermenter, and they loved it. And I'm proud of it because it's different. Like I've not worked at a big brewery. I'm a home brewer. I'm a very proud home brewer as well. Like the amount of people like, "Oh, how's your home brew?" And like, "Oh no, really sorry." I'm like, "No, I'm still a home brewer. I still brew at home. Like, I'm a proud home brewer. I still love that badge." But yeah, it's I use German ingredients. I think the malts are really important in a lager, so I buy the best quality malts I can. So these are all kind of Weimar, extra pale, Pilsner, and then I have a bit of Vienna malt in there as the breadiness as well. And then for anyone who's WHC High Voltage is incredible. We were talking about a little bit before we started.
What we've done with it,
it's mad. Like it's fermenting within an hour, and it's fully fermented within 24 hours.
And a half. Yeah,
wild,
it's mad. So it's really clean. You don't get any esters. Like, I wouldn't use it for a lot of styles. But if you want something super clean, like stout. If you want something with, I think you said you brewed. Someone said they brewed an
stout. MP. Yeah, I did an MP. Yeah.
And like, if you just, you're not getting, I use different yeast for different beers, but this is just if you want the malt design to really shine through, I think it works well. It's not the purest lager. I know that. But yeah, and this is, I've got this local restaurant who now buys, they're not a beer place, but this is their house lager. It sells really well there. And actually, you do okay on lager. A lot of places will go and get poor lager, like real craft places. Obviously, there's a lot of rubbish lager out there, but a lot will go and get, some of the great kind of poor lager is quite common around at craft places. But this sells pretty well.
Does it?
And yeah,
does
it's simple.
Does
Very
it
good.
ferment? Is it still got a bit of sweetness to it? It's like 10-10 or something, or is it going down to less? It tastes like it's got a bit of sweetness to it, doesn't
It's
it?
got a little bit of sweetness to it. Yeah, I mash it slightly higher as well. I like a bit of sweetness in my lager, particularly in the kind
me
of cold
too.
style.
Same, yeah.
And this was I was talking about Munich earlier. We went to Cologne and just like what a beer city, and just drank loads of tiny things of Kolsch. So I came back and I actually first brewed this with a more traditional. It was another WHC, a more traditional lager yeast, but I was just I wanted to push it and see what I could do. And now, that's one of my kind of standard yeasts that I use. It rips through. And again, do I want to be more pure sometimes? Yeah. Would I like to lager for younger? Of course I could. Like, this has got a bit of haze to it. I don't particularly mind that myself. Could it lager for longer? Could it develop flavor? Yeah, sure. But actually, when I've got such a small amount of kit and space, when I get bigger, then I do want to lay my lagers down a little bit longer. But I pretty much exclusively use WHC now. They're so consistent. Wet yeast I find them really tough to use when I was a home brewer. So actually, there's more range in the dried yeast. And WHC for me, like all of their yeasts are just absolutely banging. I have no issues with any of them. So
Yeah.
That's
interesting. I think the beer, for me, obviously because you've used Kvike yeast, I think it's the hops that make me realise just how much that hop contributes to you going, oh, that's a lager. You know what I mean? Because obviously there's no like lager yeast or in this case Kolsch yeast esters, but you can still definitively note it as a lager, right? Or a lager style.
Yeah, I think it's a lager style. I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just I try and it's got a decent amount of Hallertau Mittelfreu in it, which goes in just all super early for bitterness, and then it lets the kind of malt shine through. And you pay a premium for Weimann, but I think it's worth it in this beer because it's so simple. Yeah. Like you just basically go, I want my malts to shine, I want some noble hops in there, get my water profile about right, and then just let the yeast rip through as quick as possible. And basically get lagering as quick as I can. In my long-term plans on it to lager for longer, but actually, and it's a good offering. I get customers come to me, probably less so. My website, basically, national customers. Generally, if they're coming to me, they want range. They want, if they're bothering to find a little brewery from the other end of the country, and it's mad when you get. It's still like when I get an order come through on my phone through Shopify, I'm like, how's this person found? This is cool. But local customers who just want to support a local brewery, a lot of them are lager drinkers. My builder's at the moment, a massive lager drinker. He loves it, and he's like, I save one of these. I quite often, he helps me ferry my my spent grain up to the local alpaca farm. So I quite often give him a 6-pack as a thank you and all the work he's doing here. And he's like, I'll start my evening with one of these, and then just go on to the crap that I buy, basically.
Onto his carling.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's depressing. That's a big climb down. Yeah, big climb down. Yeah. It's really nice. I really like it. And actually, I was really surprised when I kind of saw WHC high voltage on there. I was like, oh, that's definitely interesting. But honestly, I'm not really sure you really notice.
There's a creaminess.
Massively.
There's a creaminess and a fruitiness to it, isn't there? But the Mittelfreu does bring that sort of fruitiness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say it does have that slight hint of Kolsch fruitiness that they talk about.
Yeah, there is a
fruitiness.
Yeah,
it's quite good.
I don't like the massively dry hop pilsners. I know there's some quite famous ones out there, so I quite like my lagers fairly traditional, but this does because I hop it quite hard. Like it's bitter. Like I don't put anything in late. There's no dry hopping. It's not really a style I particularly like.
Is there a 20 minute? Is there a 20 minute in it or something? It's what, 90 60. Or 60?
Yeah, it's interesting, but there is still some fruit.
All at 60, yeah. Through. It's all first hop, yeah. So it's just a decent hit at that point.
Especially with it being high voltage as well, because you can kind of rule out that being like you say, any kind of ester profile coming
So
through.
no, it's all super early.
So I can see why I can see why it sells quite a lot, because it's eminently smashable.
Very
So
smashable.
yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, very smashable.
It's very fruity.
You a pellet or a leaf man, Ed?
Pellet. But the next beer we're about to try, I will tell you why that became about because of leaf hops. To be fair, but I am a pellet man.
Yeah,
Cool. That's a good lead-in. To be fair,
good segue.
Good segue.
Good unplanned segue. Yeah, so I do a bit, but there's one beer I brew, or I brew a beer once a year. I've got a mate locally who grows a lot of hops and there's a lot of it, and it's super fun having local hops and whole leaf. I just find at my size, I'm not using a whole bale. I'm too big to get the 100-gram packs from Malt Miller now, and they're just messy, and I don't know if I'm like a lot of the difference between my homebrew to commercial, I've actually simplified a lot of recipes. I've gone from being like every recipe was just complete. I didn't care what was in the beer. I'd basically be like, here, I want to brew the best version of this, and I'll go to the Malt Miller, which was, you know, not just sponsorship for you guys, but that was who I exclusively used, and I still use them quite a lot now. And I just build a recipe, and I do my research. I build the recipe. I'm like, oh, cool, we're doing this, blah blah blah. And I get to what I want to see. Whereas now I've had to simplify quite a lot in terms of I don't want loads of half-open packs of yeast. I don't want loads of half-open packs of malts. So I have some base malts that I tend to put in my beers. And then if I want a small amount that I'm only going to use in one beer, I'll go back to the Malt Miller and buy 300 grams, 3 kilos, 5 kilo, whatever I want. I'll pay more per kilo, but it's delivered within 2 days or something ridiculous, and it's exactly what I need. There's no wastage. I don't have loads of half-open bags of malt kicking around wherever I'm storing them at the moment, based on kind of the space I'm trying to create.
Yeah, because you don't have that much space for storage, do you? Because it's in the house, yeah. So yeah, you want to keep it down to a minimum.
Is it like every cupboard in the house is like, oh, there's another bag of malt?
Yeah, a little. I've got, I mean, some pictures I took when I was doing the Bruiser thing. I did Bruiser in April. I spoke to them and I was like, I want to do Bruiser. I want to do 12-pack box. I just like, I was a Bruiser fan from the start, trying to support breweries, and like, you know, I kind of went away from Beer 50. I was a Beer 52 like day one, and then I very quickly, you know, tried to cancel my subscription, which was the hardest thing in the world. And then I loved Bruiser. So I spoke to them, but I was like, the only way I can do it is I need 4 months to produce this beer, and I can't do it in the summer because I'm gonna have all these cans sat in my shed. Which I just built a new shed for other things, other hobbies, but it's now taken over as a beer fridge. But I was like, I can't stock I haven't got any fridge space, so I need to stock all these cans. Basically, I'll brew January to March, and it won't get warm enough for any issues. Yeah. And that's essentially what I did. But yeah, there was that's a lot of cans kicking around the shed.
So, as you've brought that up now, Ed, like how did that actually come about? Did you just reach out to them and go, I want to do it, and then it happened, or is that pretty much it? I
messaged them in. I must have been. So I started in June, July. I had a really good Christmas, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen my first January. I'm going to be really quiet. I don't know what I'm brewing. I was like, actually, and at that point, I was a real big. I still am, but I actually drink a lot less beer at home now. I kind of, you know, I'm less stressed at work, so I don't have 5 beers in the evening to dull the pain, which is good. But I basically messaged them, and I was like, this is crazy, but I'm tiny. And I couldn't, back in the old Bruiser model when they just had like 70 breweries on every month. I was like, I can't do that. But now you're doing 8 guest breweries a month, whatever. Can I be one of those? I'm tiny, but I can produce how many, and they're like minimum 100 cases. I was like, cool. And I ended up doing, I think I did 170. They sold in like 24 hours. That's not because I'm a great brewery. I offered a crazy deal. 12 cans is pretty rare on there now. It wasn't profitable, but it's something I kind of wanted to do. So yeah, I just reached out to them and said, and I'd always been I'd met Ollie, who runs it, at a few like LCBF and various things, and had laughed about the Facebook page and people basically just wanting the world from their brews for like the 38 quid you pay, only wanting uniques, wanting 7 impy stouts and loads of dippers. And I was like, I can't do that, but I can 12 unique beers for the untappers who want just chasing numbers. I'll give you a dipper. I'll give you a real range of beer. And that just became my real focus for 3 months, essentially. So I brewed the different beers. And whereas now I say I get 5 kegs out and 80 cans as a sort of standard run, I was doing like 200 cans and 2 kegs, and which worked really well for me at that time because I didn't have many customers. I was still like 6 months in. January's obviously just completely dead, and it worked really well. It was my understanding wife who, you know, we've discussed before, she's 50% director of how we set the business up. I remind her that because she does my canning basically, because it's not, that's the one thing that I've got a duo filler and a malt miller can steamer to get through 200 cans. One person's great and has a lovely little setup, but you also need someone who's running cans in and out and carrying, like, so that was like,
that's a lot of work.
That was like 8-10 hour days empty, and we're towards the end. I was having to like empty 3 fermenters and get 600 cans out, and we got it pretty down. But it was a lot of work. But yeah, essentially, I reached out to them so that I could do this thing, and they said, "Cool."
So it sounds like a great way to get your name out there. Did you obviously, you know, that went well and everything? Did you see some sort of return off the back of that in terms of getting more direct customers then from doing that? Because
purely customers know, like I put in a little like 10% off Bruiser thing. I don't think that many if any of them been used. The Bruiser customers, I remember in one point, like Algebrew, I loved my Algebrew box. I'd almost be tempted to order direct or something. I was like, come on, like if you actually want to support local,
almost.
Almost. But I do think the model's great, and I think a lot of those people, I get my 1-2 boxes a month, and then I go back to and it's probably a cheaper way of doing it as well because of the model and how it works. And I think the model is generally great. But yeah, definitely from getting my name out there, speaking to people. So it's unquantifiable. I definitely mid-March when I was just knackered and there were cans everywhere and I already sold out. And I was like, is this actually going to be worth it? Like profitably, this is not great. But it got my name out, and actually it gave me, as I say, I might have also been brewing beer and really struggling to sell kegs of it. And it sat there. You know, another USP for me is my beer's pretty fresh. I'm not producing 40 kegs that I'm then struggling to sell. Yeah. I basically email my 8 trade customers. You know, I want to stay local. Again, I'm not particularly looking at wholesalers and stuff and going bigger because then you start to lose margin. So I'm just like, I do my own deliveries, and that's really nice to do as well. And kind of once you're in a venue, then you get repeat customer. The beer goes down normally pretty well.
So would you do another Bruiser box?
No, probably not. I actually reached out to them. Like, I don't. Maybe I would, but probably not. To be honest, not. It was a bit. That was a bit of a passion project. I wanted to produce 12, and they were like they were. It wasn't just you get some slightly lazy brews, but again, big brews that they want, right? And you just like, it's a generous 8-can box, but they're all kind of mid-session IPAs, and you know some are fine, some of it's probably clearing stock. Mine were all like within 2-3 months of being canned, and were 12 very different styles. I went lager through to a fairly strong stout. I didn't do an MP just because I couldn't really make that work in the price. I'd have lost quite a bit of money on that for various reasons. Yeah. But what I said to them, I'd love to do, and I don't think they'll come back to me, but maybe if they would, the Project X they did last year, where it was like kind of blind. You know, you got the blind. I love that sort of thing. That's my like inner beer geek. And you got 12 different beers, and there were 12 breweries, and you had to match. You had to basically select. They're all blind, so you had to know which one it was. And I was get me in that. Like just for I'm not from an arrogant point of view. I was like, it'd be really cool to have a garage brewery.
Yeah,
going up against like a Beacon, a Cloudwater, and all the big guys. Not so, just from how much is marketing, how much is kind of cans and stuff. So I'd be keen to do something like that. The workload involved, and I've now also got a lot more customers who I want to fulfill in January. So until I up my scale up, I probably just wouldn't be able to do it either.
That's very cool. Sense. There's a comment from Steve at Final Gravity Brewing just saying how easy drinking this beer is. He said it's like squash.
It actually is. That's
Well, I'm a massive Nelson Sauvin fan, and as such, very much enjoying this. But yeah, 3.8%. This absolutely flies down again.
Tricky, did you see the yeast?
It's your favourite one, isn't it, Andy?
So Bond is an English ale yeast, right? So what is that? That's probably
SO4.
Windsor?
No, it's
No.
well, the bond link is like
Oh, double
007, so it's
007, right.
007 White Labs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
which
it
is
though?
supposedly one of the Whitbread strains, but that's where it starts to get complicated because apparently there's more than one version of Whitbread, and yeah, so
Right.
who knows? Who knows?
Dry English ale yeast, or
Which
WHC's version.
and yeah, this bit. So this beer kind of came about from a foray into cask. Essentially, I started off by doing
Yeah.
everything, and then
Hmm.
quite quickly realised I wasn't well enough set up to get cask as well, and just the margins are awful. Like actually, so if you're just churning out best bitter, unless you've got really supportive pubs, actually most of my local craft beer bars are like, yeah, I will pay as much for cask as I will for keg because why shouldn't I? But actually, it can be quite hard, and trying to do it all at once is hard. But I started this off to do a bit of that and also to have a session pale. But the reason I talked about whole versus pellets is because when I was ordering from my first sort of Charles Ferrum orders, I can't remember what they call wholly. I think it's fresh pack, and I didn't know what that meant. I was like, that sounds nice. So instead of 5 kilos of pellets, I had this bale of hops turn up. And I was like,
And it's like
Yeah.
a backpack.
what do I do with this? So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm not sure what to do. And now I was like, well, actually, there was a beer. This was one of our earliest beers that was like really popular with mates when we were just home brewing. It was a golden ale basically. And I was like, I think that had some different options. I was like, well, actually, I love Nelson. I think probably my favorite. I like new hops, but I like Citra. I like Nelson. If I'm being honest, I like Mosaic. It's delicious. So I basically was like, well, I want to brew something with this. So I just chucked a load of Nelson into this, and it's worked. I've moved to pellet since, again from just a usability for my scale and a trying to fit. When I've had a couple of kilos out, it doesn't fit in my freezer very well, and there's a lot of practicalities, and I don't think it's changed it. But yeah, this is again. I've got a couple of customers who they wanted a session kind of half hour. I do some keg and on cask, and it works really well. And it's just really smooth, really drinkable.
I can imagine it being really good in cask.
I bet that's great on cask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of kind of soft carbonation. I like bitterness in my beers. I probably sometimes too much. Some people like certainly some of my earlier hazies and Neepers were probably a bit too bitter, and I've reined them back. But I quite like drinkability in a beer. So this is where I try and get it. But yeah, this is pure Nelson throughout. This is additions kind of throughout. No dry hop, and actually this stands up really well from a not using a saturated or a haze heaven or something like that. Again, WHC focus, but using this and not dry hopping. It's really like it cans well. You don't really get any oxygen in it. It's kind of quite robust.
It's got a great level of hop flavour for something that's not dry hopped as well. I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones that I've really tried to kind of layer throughout, so you're getting the different characteristics throughout the boil. So it's trying to smooth throughout. It's a massive whirlpool basically. A quite clogging the kit kind of whirlpool, like struggling to just get the flavour. And I've done a similar version that tweaked with Citra that I'm only putting out on cask actually, which is quite similar to Jarl. It's that kind of style of and again, massive whirlpool.
Jarl doesn't have a dry hop. Yeah, that's right.
No, massive. Yeah. So
I do when I make my New Zealand Pilsner. I don't dry hop that, so it's just a whirlpool. And it's amazing how much you can get just out of using them hot side.
That's mad. So, Chicky, can you taste the bond?
Not as much as on your beer.
But yeah, it's there. It's there. It's got that sort of earthiness. There's that slight earthiness, like that meatiness that you get from the bond. But I think the Nelson just like really pushes it, doesn't it? So it's like they play off each other quite well.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily getting that. Like, I think what we're talking about, Ed, is that SO4 is a very like atypical homebrew yeast option. or historically always was,
Yeah,
right? So we've all been to homebrew clubs and tried a lot of beers that have been made with SO4, and you pick up like the aroma of it. You can kind of go, oh yeah, that's SO4.
Yeah.
I'm not actually getting that on this beer. Like, I'm not going, oh, that smells like SO4 homebrew.
Actually, I do taste the bond. See, when I first had my first sip, I was like, "There it is," but it was just like the way it plays with the Nelson was so really. It was like really nice. Actually, it works so well. Rather than was it Styrian Goldens I had? We did a Timmy Taylor, and I did it with Bond, and they did it with the West Yorkshire Ale yeast, and it was like that was the standout. How we could tell what the yeast tasted like, and then coming, I was like, as soon as I seen the Bond, I was like, oh, I want to see how this, where I can pick it out, sort of thing. But with the Nelson, it works. I think it works really well. So it's almost like I'd written off Bond. I kind of was, because it goes quite dry. I don't know if this is if yours goes quite
really dry.
Really dry. Yeah, like 1.007 or something like that. Was I think mine's
sometimes even. This is also
6.
interesting. Yeah, it can go low, and also. Another thing I've really pushed with this beer is liquoring back. So I've had a lot of conversations with purists who some of the percentages I've pushed on liquoring back are pretty mental. But my brew kit's tiny. It's actually only 120 litres at boil. So, and as I say, my fermenters are 150, which I'll try and push. So I high gravity brew a lot. And this is one that I can I put this in my 300 litre fermenter. I don't get 300 out of it, but I get way over 150. And I've really pushed that. And I do it on my soft limit, which is another one of mine, which is a 3.4 American Pale, which is, again, like really heavy. And because some of that's practicality, as I said, like I'm trying to balance a lot at the moment. And I'm like, actually, I don't want to double brew weak beers. I also, my dipper I double brewed into my 150 because to get that out, and there's no liquor back, obviously.
Because your mash tun will be able to take it. So your mash tun can take it to do, and then you liquor it back. So you can do that 120 batch and fill a 300 litre fermenter.
And I just boil it. I get it to like 80 degrees, as hot as I can in my hot liquor tank without blowing out the element, basically. And then I run it back through. I don't just transfer that. I run it back through. I basically transfer about half, and then I slowly feed in the water through, and it feeds all through. Never had any issues with any bacteria pick up. You have to be careful you're hopping and make sure your numbers are picked. Again, Brewfather does a pretty good job of that for me, and it works really well.
Ask just in terms of like IBU, and also that for you, I guess you're having to think about consistency. If you've got trade pubs kind of asking for the beer, you're thinking about how do I make this beer consistent. Do you find that's a challenge?
Not like, I mean, a little bit. I don't have any. I know a lot of breweries my size who very early kind of committed to getting a tap in a bar or like getting and I've always been like, certainly for now, I don't want that. So the lager I have in a restaurant, but I sometimes have to go to that, and I've always said to them, great, you've got me as your lager. And I sell this to a local coffee roastery who has like a pop-up. They have a pop-up coffee place. And turns out when people drink coffee and this is a really nice little farmyard. It's like a little tap room. So he's turned it into a tap room. So this is his like house beer. But all of my customers, I'm like, you know how I brew. I'm small. I will commit to brewing this as much as I can. But if you run out, and they're great. And they're like, yeah, cool, totally get that. So there needs to be a bit of consistency. And yeah, if I hit my numbers, and I think that the skill of having homebrewed for a lot and stuff, and speaking to a lot of I'm doing a lot of collabs now with really local guys, and that's really useful. We all kind of agree the skill is being able to read your numbers and react within a brew. It's not about, I don't hit my efficiency bang on every time. I'm not like the most, the perfect brewer who knows how to do everything, but I can get to it and be like, cool, I want to hit that. And then in my head, I'm like, am I trying to come out with a number, or am I sometimes I'm trying to come out with a keg count, because I'm getting to the point which is great where I'm doing collab brews and it's all sold before I've even brewed it almost, because we're kind of pushing it. So then you're like, right, I need to get 8 kegs out of this. So then it's kind of like the second brew, do I push a bit harder? Do I add a bit of sugar? I don't tend to. Or how much do I liquor back? So it's about being able to react within and just using various tools. Brewfather's great for that. All the kind of, do I liquor back? Do I add a little bit of sugar?
Yeah.
Well, in a
when
way,
you
it's
say
easier to
shooter-
be consistent, isn't it, when you are liquoring back, because you can
Yeah,
get it to that
Yeah.
exact,
true,
gravity that
that's
you
true.
want,
Yeah.
100%.
regardless of what has happened, on the brew day itself up to that point. So,
And also, there's some beers I don't. I'm brewing, Dunkel in a couple of weeks, inspired by Munich. I'll do the label once I brewed it. I'll work out how efficient it is, and I'll be like, cool, it's gonna hit that number.
That's a
There we go.
percent. Yeah.
That'll do. And if it becomes, I don't think I've ever set out with a golden ratio, which I haven't actually got in the box. The double ratio is literally that with everything doubled. So it's kind of a real classic hazy IPA with just my favourite hops in it, basically. That I set out to be my beer that would be my kind of one core beer, if you will. And I try and always have that available. But it sells so well because it's a 4.5% hazy IPA that pubs buy it, basically. That it's pretty simple to. But other than that, I didn't set out to have a core range, so it wasn't a challenge. But yeah, I definitely try and get consistency.
See, if you don't have a core range, is that because you're fairly new? Because I find that some breweries that go, oh, we're always making changes, but then what happens is they stumble upon that, ultimate beer, and then they do have a core range because that beer is so good, sort of thing. Do you feel like that could be the development, maybe, or
Potentially. I mean, so as I said, so the first beer we tried is pretty much I try and always have kegs, and I got to the point where that had sold out. I hit the summer, and suddenly everyone's a couple of kegs of that. Golden Ratio, my hazy IPA, I have on. I'll always try and have elegant proof. I don't massively push that with customers. I've got 2 or 3 who love it, who are just like, this is they wanted a sessionable, juicy, drinkable beer, and they're like, this is it, cool. So then I just brew that for them, basically. And I don't, when I send my very basic trade email, I'm sale, I do everything. So my basic trade is a PDF of a couple of beers I've got. But yeah, so I've probably got, my RB, I reckon I've got 4 beers. So golden ratio, 4.5% hazy, standard deviation, my 5% Kolsch, soft limit, my 3.4 American pale.
okay,
3.8% elegant proof, and my cores. And then I've brewed a few beers a few more times. I've got a best bitter, which I want to tweak, which selling cask isn't, particularly around here, is not difficult. So I sell my keg beers to every town around here has one really great craft beer bar. We're really lucky. But generally they'll be the only ones. Most of the pubs are tied, but we'll have a guest cask line. And they love local beers, so actually selling cask isn't overly difficult.
okay.
And my expansion might actually go that way, potentially. If particularly, I think I'm already looking to January, February. I want a couple more fermenters. I'll probably struggle to sell any strong beers, but I'll go back to my sessions and actually cask beer drinkers I don't think do dry January.
Couple of Yorkshire squares in the garage then, is what you're saying?
That's the plan. Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, the garage extension's looking good. Yeah,
a bit of open fermentation.
Southern Edge.
Speaking of, we did an episode a little while ago. Andy referenced earlier on Timmy Taylor, Landlord.
Yeah,
and we had Wheatlow Brewery. Have you heard of Wheatlow Brewery?
Yeah, I know Wheatlow,
yeah. So we had Richard Bagley send us his version of Landlord, his Landlord clone, which he'd open fermented. And he'd also agitated the yeast as well.
I've seen the videos of him with a jug, just frothing it up, right?
Up, just getting super frothy.
And he put that invert number 2 sugar in as well. Oh, and I think that played a big part. Yeah.
And
for the colour as well, that was quite important, wasn't it? It turned out I'd never realised it was that dark, but yeah. Anyway,
I think I ended up drain pouring my keg after that. I was like,
really,
smells good.
I don't know. I ended up just picking up this real weird. I was really unhappy with the yeast starter. When you have like you mentioned earlier, Ed, like wet yeast. So I got a wet yeast. I made a yeast starter. I'm pretty comfortable with doing yeast starters. But you know of a yeast starter that never gets a krausen, and you're like,
what's going on? Why is that not good?
Doesn't seem quite right. Yeah.
I swear I was just picking up this real I don't know, slightly phenolic medicinal note in the beer, and I was like,
Stuff
As
like
As much as I love the West Yorkshire yeast, I think it's a really fussy strain. Like it's not that easy to work with. And obviously
And you
it is
can
in liquid
say-
form as well, so you have that extra like
But you could
potential
say, like,
pitfall of the
having
starter
to
going
aerate
wrong,
it.
and
Yeah.
and yeah, like, you know, obviously, assuming it is actually the authentic Timothy Taylor's yeast, it's literally you know, evolved to function in that very specific scenario of the Yorkshire Square top cropping, you know, open fermentation,
recirculated.
so much stuff that is very different to how it will typically be operating
want-
in a homebrew enclosed fermenter. So it's, you know, I think you can get great results with it, but I think equally it can really easily go a little bit Pete Tong, like with a homebrew setup. So
Agreed.
Ed, what do you use then for your kind of cask ales then? Is it the Bond yeast to use, or do you use different ones?
Yeah, Bond, and I actually use Old English more now as well. Again, WHC, and I'm really happy that, and you can get particularly Old English. I think the
Old English must be
subtle,
the Windsor equivalent, right? I guess if that's the.
I don't actually know, but it might be.
Or...
How does that attenuate? Does that go down quite a lot, or is it not as brutal?
1009
as
somewhere there.
Okay,
Probably
so
slightly higher, but it still goes down. Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
but
good
I
though.
think that one, the difference in that is between the subtle temperature differences is quite big. Like you get big ester different if you're at 18 or 22, you'll get big ester differences. Because I'm using that for. I've done a couple of collabs this week. One with basically I do a little bottle sharing piece. We do bottle shares, very kind of geeky, lots of stats involved. My mate Matt, who I mentioned started Algebrew with me, we'll have score sheets. We tried going digital, but it was awful. It's the one, like, no one has their phones. We all have score sheets. It's very like different columns and stuff. There's always a theme. And I normally, basically, I love like a super weird, Burning Sky is one of my favourite breweries. I'm from Sussex, so I love Burning Sky, Beak, all that. And everyone just like, there's a lot of guys there just like, I don't like it. And I'm like, well, it's,
what?
You know, that's your problem.
That's a new problem.
Yeah,
But
educate yourself.
Burning Sky.
yeah. Oh, it's incredible. But I took Trax Sonoma along, and it was just, I've had it. I've drunk it loads before. Some fresh from the brewery, Trax Sonoma. I was like, this is mental. Like for a 3.8%, like core beer,
Mosaic Beast.
blew me away. I'm trying to replicate based off various things, kind of replicate that. And
Chad's tricky. I think he's done.
I've seen
pretty good.
I may have used that video for quite a bit.
I see the 3.8%. Yeah,
not this one. Not
it's
this
making
one,
sense.
Yeah.
Cross pollination going on.
Yeah. I need to go, and you guys are on the next beer. I'm going to go and grab it, so I'll be.
I was speeding ahead a little bit, to be fair.
Do it. Yeah,
It's very nice, by the way.
For our listeners, you may have already noticed. For those following,
It's pretty obvious, isn't it, when that one goes in the glass?
We're drinking the Damson Sour now.
Colour on that is
the colour's amazing.
You guys are speeding ahead.
Taste is pretty fucking good as well.
Well, to be fair, the last beer was only 3.8%, so it's
and that was very easily quaffable, wasn't it? So
I feel like I
Insane.
drank that slowly.
I really enjoyed that. Actually, that was lovely.
For having Bond yeast, I thought
Nelson for the win, though.
Nelson
for the
massive.
win.
Yeah, Nelson's such a great.
I'm assuming that Brooksy's probably in the chat, like having some sort of meltdown over WHC yeast, isn't he?
It's a WHC night.
How does say? Yeah, there you go. There it is.
Yeah.
As expected.
To be fair, for what is, simplicity is key. With that last beer we drank, Elegant Proof, the pale ale, it's just some pale lager malt, one hop, a yeast. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. And knowing your
it's
yeast
a good
as
lesson.
well.
It's a good lesson. Brewing does not need to be complicated.
But they're also knowing where it ends up, because that's where I failed. That's where my Yorkshire Ale that ended up like 5% or something crazy, wasn't it?
Now I've got the cascarator fully
Oh,
operational.
dude. Oh,
A
Yeah,
Nelson,
it's good.
3.8% sort of.
oh,
Great
Um,
idea.
Yeah,
yes, yes,
probably
yes.
with the. Oh, well, I mean, I could just literally do this. Just do a single malt.
That's
Um,
a great shout from
yeah,
Teddy.
Nelson and
Elegant proof, but with
Uh,
saturated.
Yeah, so we'll need to get the recipe for elegant proof off Ed, I think.
Yeah.
For cask.
We're gonna verbally bully you until you give us one of your recipes, Ed.
Just so we can put it in
Fine.
cask,
All good.
because we've got pins, Ed, and me and
yeah,
Charles get pins.
we were just talking
uh,
about the potential of doing that as a homebrew sort of beer to put on cask, particularly for
Definitely.
me and Andy, seeing that as a
Yeah, I sent another packet of that WHC Bond from the malt miller for that track comp. So
give it another shot, Andy. Give it another shot.
shot. Yeah, exactly.
Try again.
Although I've still to tap the cask of Timmy, because I did it in a mini keg, drank that with the boys,
Right.
sent it out, but I've still got a cask. I'm gonna go on holiday,
Oh,
come
really?
back, and I'll tap it, and drink it. I bet you it's totally different in cask, and it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Well, I've got my Jarl / Hophead esque kind of beer on at the minute. I literally tapped last night, and it's going down well. But yeah,
Is that where
I
the
think I'm
fountain
still working out where the no, I used saturated on that as well. But
Oh,
I think I'm still dialing in where to go with the IBUs on those sort of cask beers.
okay.
And I'm feeling like generally probably for me anyway, maybe push it a little bit higher than what you might think.
Yep. You get drinkability.
Yeah, because I think I had this one at a bit less than what the Timmy Taylor's clone was. And
Okay.
we're all kind of like, 45 seems a bit high for, a 4%-ish beer, but actually, I think
You
that's
are a bit
probably
high.
where I want it to be.
Because you don't have a carbonic bite from the.
Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it's good, but I think I probably like the extra bitterness in particularly for the cask serving method.
Ed, do you
So I'm
find
probably
that
gonna
do you need to
Err
add
on the side of that.
a bit more bitterness to cask brews when you're designing it for cask? Do you add a bit more bitterness or?
Not specifically.
But what sort of IBUs would you have in this sort of beer? Anyway, bearing in mind that is kind of partially cask orientated, right?
It's a great
Or-
question. Yeah, I mean, this is what I do on both. Let me have a look. I'll dig
Bit
it out.
brew father.
Yeah, do a bit of
I'll
that.
just bring that up for you.
Technical questions. You wait until we start asking for the water profile.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
One
exactly.
thing I was meaning to ask actually, we didn't quite dig into this, but what's I love the maths sort of branding and naming and whatever, but what was the maths connection? Because when you said what your previous
it's
job was,
maths.
I didn't shout out to me that it was sort of a massively maths related thing, or was it just something that you found and went, oh, there's loads of potentially cool names for beers in that, or
No, that has worked well. No, so Matt and I maybe mentioned it, maybe didn't. Matt and I, who started it, both have master degrees.
Yep.
So that was
Right,
when
okay.
we were like, I basically was one of my best mates at uni, went to school with Matt, and we knew each
Yep.
other through drinking basically. And he happened to live in Petersfield, and we're now really close through brewing. His wife's in my kitchen. My wife didn't go to the pub; she decided to stay at home and look after the
Okay.
kids, which was good because I've just gone to get the beers, and the kids are just running around at 9 o'clock.
and it's pure chaos out there
yeah.
behind the door.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's good. There's Nerf guns everywhere. Yeah.
It's Friday night.
But yeah, so we started with that, and actually, it's worked quite like. Yeah, I'm a massive beer geek at heart and a bit of a geek as well, and that started it. And then we kind of realised there's quite a lot to run with from the maths theme kind of things.
It's a rich vein for beer naming, isn't it? Like you got
Works
loads
really
of
well,
stuff there.
yeah. But yeah, that's the reason.
Need,
And I like-
need
Oh,
further
also for the
analysis.
graphics and like can design art as well, like you
Yeah.
especially with
Crazy,
all,
yeah.
I mean, like the sort of like fractal style stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Who does your can art?
I knew it was going to go up, but I'm not. This is my least favorite point of the brewery. So Matt used to. His wife has just reminded me that she did the Algebrew logo and is still waiting for her royalties. So she kind of does a bit of graphic design. Now it's a combination of, we come up with the names. I am using quite a bit of AI, which is something I want to come away from. There's a huge trend, and I totally get it. And in the brewing industry and I am right. I pride myself being local craft producer. Do I want to use AI? No. Have I worked out a route to get a lot of local breweries have super cool mates in graphic design? I do not have one of those,
Exactly.
and I'm like, I produce.
Yeah.
I've done like 50 different beers last year. What money can I pay someone is the problem, and I kind of. Like, my wife works at a local school, and like, can I use an A-level student to do some work? And I'm like, I just don't know. It's something I want to look at, because I'm fairly anti the whole AI thing, but actually, we found something that works. I don't think we're the worst. There are some breweries out there which are producing some can art, and you look at it and go, wow, that's very AI. And we've got a very clear brief. So I enjoy the label. My background's maths. My work at Waitrose was all very statistical. Kind of design has never been part of my life, and as I say, every other brewery and bar who are local to me are like, I'll just get my mate to do it. I don't have any cool mates who do graphic design, sadly. So yeah, it's a mix of us coming with ideas. The naming convention is always a 2-word maths term, which there is endless possibilities on that. So Matt and I still kind of bounce ideas. He still works full time, so we still, and he slightly berates me doing this because now I have to brew in the day. So I'll twice weekly get drunk, brew a bit, can some beers, watch great kind of, various different sport things. Now doesn't happen as much because I'm busy actually doing it. But there's a can on the screen. What are we asking?
I love this. I love that it's super clean, right?
It's delicious. Yeah,
it's great.
No. I mean. So see the text, Tricky.
The design. Yeah.
The design. I love how that just gives, as a geeky brewer, that gives me all the info I need to know.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And
like
I really
that's on
appreciate that.
purpose.
Actually, yeah, I appreciate that.
I stole that from, and I haven't gone as far as them, but Baron, who I think is one of the great breweries.
I mean, Baron go all out on that detail, though, don't they?
They go water profile. I didn't think I could quite go water.
Not just giving you the water profile; they'll do a blurb about why they use the water profile. And you're like, is that really like?
Yeah.
Apart from obviously us complete nerds reading it, is there actually anyone else getting anything out of that? But I love it. But do you know what I mean? Like, it seems.
I wanted people to kind of be able to do that. Like everything I've designed and everything it's about my wife and I designed our beer mats, and we looked at 40 beer mats because again I'm a beer geek who collects beer mats, and we looked at them like, that works, that doesn't, that, and it's basically, mine's a kind of business card, so I've got a bit of information on there. I've got one here actually. So like one side's just a really simple, that's one logo, and then the other side just has, it's a little bit of Petersfield up there, and it's just got a website and that, and it just kind of gives you the information you need. So yeah, but yeah, and I wanted it to be. Some people will never look at that. Some people are like, oh, cool, it's a Damson Sour. But then the people who I think are finding my brewery and are going, actually, again, there's the local angle, but for those who are different parts of the country are buying this because they want to try different beers and are probably home brewers, and they're going, oh, cool, oh, he's using that yeast. Oh, that's cool. And if a few people are doing that, some might say the cans are a bit busy, but I quite like squeezing it all in. So yeah.
No, I think it's very cool. The damsons, where are they coming? So wild forage damsons. So you're just getting out in the Petersfield country, out in the South Downs, finding your own damsons.
No, these are from my mum. My mum's got she got like a third of an acre allotment. Where she kind of like, so that's her. And bless her, she's on her own now. And every time I get there, I remind her, I'm like, this used to, like, growing up, I had this very idyllic kind of, like, everything was homegrown and like it was amazing. It's like raised beds everywhere. And I go down and I'm like, do you, you're getting on a bit, Mum. Do you need 75 tomato plants for yourself?
That's a lot of chutney at the end of the year, right?
Yeah. Ed, you're inheriting this, mate. That's what's happening.
Well, I'll inherit the damsons because I love them. But
the tomato sour beer is incoming at some point.
Yeah,
the vodka tomato. Yeah.
be nice.
That
But
Bloody Mary sour. Do it.
Yeah.
Do
I
it.
went
Ed.
down there last autumn to pick. So I've got an apple tree, and I was like, "Oh, I'll turn this into cider because that's natural
Heck yeah.
progression."
Yeah.
I don't really like cider, but I still every year I've lived in this house, I've spent a good weekend pressing cider. And I added it to quite a few. I did like an apple crumble sour. I've done some like kind of half cider, half beer.
Cinnamon and
different
stuff
kind
like
of
that, yeah.
takes. Yeah. But I went to my mum's and she had this glut of damson. So she makes some jam with it and stuff. And I was like, that's going to work. That's the flavour I want in my sour beers is like earthy. I don't think strawberry works.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. So I can take these. And I think what really works, it's actually it's got a bit funkier since the last had it, but I kept them whole. So I'm quite anti-purees. So again, my home brewing, I couldn't really access purees. And I've tried purees with raspberries. I've gone back to using fruit. I would say the day you have to like clean the fermenter, it's an absolute nightmare. But damsons, so I kept them whole. So a lot of, if anyone doesn't know what, like, a lot of people, what is it? It's kind of like a really sour plum. So you can't really eat them, but they're great in crumbles and things. But I keep them whole because I read, and I think it kind of comes through. It's less so now because it's got a bit funkier, but the stone has quite a flavour as well, like an almost almondy flavour. So I keep them whole because I think you get that complexity. I'm quite anti the modern sour. This is Philly sour. It's not the most complex sour, but I like the fruit having a bit of something about it rather than just chuck a pure out that doesn't really work. So the whole fruit in this, I think, really works, and it adds a bit more kind of layering. But yeah, it's an absolute nightmare to clean.
I think
got stoned.
I know what you're saying, Ed. Like, I think sometimes a Philly sour or just a straight fruited sour can be quite one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Whereas I think where you've used the actual fruit, it's got just a bit more to it. It's got a little bit more complexity to it. I couldn't put my finger on what that is, but there's something more to it. It's really very.
I think it gives it. I think it gives it that thicker. There's no.
Is this not? Hold on. Is this not stunning? First of all,
It's really good.
Really,
I
very good.
love it. I think it's great.
I think this
amazing.
is like.
And it's not
I'm a
like
big fan.
stripping your teeth sour either.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, it's excessively
think-
sour, but it's still sour enough for me to go. It's not just a
So I brewed a
sickly
batch
sweet sort of fruit beer,
Yeah.
So
I've brewed a batch of this with. I've done a raspberry lemonade with exactly the same base, and that is thin. It's really like super crushable, but there's no mouthfeel to it, and it's a completely different beer.
Yeah.
What I love about this is I was just checking. There's no lactose in this. What I'm really happy is the mouthfeel you get from the fruit. And I've got my mate Dave, who like is one of my biggest fans. And he's a big like Belgian drinker, and he loves his sours. And he said the same. And like that, he drank these side by side, and he's like they're just completely different beers because the raspberry lemonade is thin. Still like it. It's very drinkable.
Yes.
But this has got
nice.
that thick mouthfeel to it,
Uh-huh,
which is just
it
from
does,
the fruit.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
Oh, so good.
It's very, very enjoyable. I haven't had a sour for a while, actually, come to think of it.
I've
And
gone
it's been
I've gone right off
good
them,
break.
to be fair.
A good break. Very good. Where are
You
you,
could-
out of interest, Ed, where are you from in Sussex originally?
So I'm a tiny village called Fletching, which is near Lewis kind of way. I went to college in Lewis, so I think I mentioned in some of our chats. So I think you guys talking about Timothy Taylor's
Harvey's.
landlord, right?
Yeah.
Like with reverence, and I don't think you should ever
Yeah.
try and replicate your beer. I spent most of my second year of homebrewing was trying to replicate Harvey's with like using their Russian Imperial Stout, which is yeast conditioned, and I could never replicate it. I've since given up because to me that is, if I get asked the question, what's the one bit? If you could only drink one beer the rest of your life, it would be Harvey's.
Harvey's
Best
much better.
I grew up playing, so cricket was my life growing up, and every single cricket ground in Sussex has a pin of Harvey's after the game. So that was all I drank.
Yeah.
And I think that fresh, it's probably the worst and the bet. Like it's one of those ones that 3 days old Harvey's is awful. You have to get it fresh. But again, I grew up playing at these cricket grounds where they put one on a Saturday morning and you'd be drummed by sun. Like you just put a pin of it on and everyone drank it. So I love it. I have had it since and been like, oh, that's a disappointing pint, because
Have
that's the whole joy and hate of craft beer, right?
Have you done the brewery tour?
Never done it. I'm going to these
not?
hills.
You
It's a nightmare like waiting list. I did do my year 9 work experience there for a week, so I kind of got a brewery
nice.
tour, because I used to always.
Cool.
My granddad loved it. And I used to always. We used to go
Love
to Lewis on a Saturday morning. They had a great cricket shop they used to go to, and you could always, the whole town smells, right. It was one of those like, I love that smell of the kind of, and so I remember year 9 work experience. You want to go work in accounting or whatever, and I did a week there, just like casking beer. It was amazing.
Did you not do? Yeah,
we went and did the Harvey's tour the year that these hills got cancelled because of the wind.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, which was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago. So. I didn't go to these hills last year.
Did you not find
some
out
of the guys in the
sauce?
chat will be at these hills if you're heading there this year.
Sorry, is that you're going?
I'm not going to. I don't think I can make these hills this year, but I know some of the guys in the chat will be. Are you going to LCBF this year?
Undecided. I think I'm away for it, so I would normally, but I've moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have, and I've also. So I always miss these hills because that's when we have our family holiday. I don't usually, but I've moved my family holiday this year because I'm so desperate to go to these hills because I adore Beak. I love Lewis. I play cricket opposite Glyn, like the place it is, and so I love that part of the world. So yeah, Matt and I, who started Algebrew, are going this year.
Oh, it's great.
Time,
I've done it a couple of years, and it is an absolute banger of a beer festival. You'll really enjoy it. I'm actually heading Lewis way tomorrow. Heading down to see some friends.
Nice.
Where about in Lewis or locally?
I'm not sure. It's kind of not 100% sure where it is. It's not Lewis. It's kind of outskirts of Lewis, I think. Let me have a look.
Just Owen's worrying about the stalkers, obviously, from the podcast, following them. He said to someone to put it out live.
That's it. Where's his address?
Being very elusive.
South Shady.
I went to secondary school in Chaley.
There you go.
Secondary school there.
That's where I'm heading tomorrow.
Small world.
There you go, small world.
As I asked that question, I thought this is awful content for people living out that part of the world. Me just reminiscing about random towns in East Sussex.
Turns out Owen needs it for his tour.
I love it. Awesome. And is that? I'm going to be super nosy. Is that a set of golf clubs behind you?
He knows it is already.
Yeah, there we go.
He read ping on the side of it, didn't
you
he?
Remember? Where do you play?
I'm not. So when I stopped playing cricket because of family commitments and kids and stuff, I took up golf. I'm not. I play at Blackmore quite a bit, which is just
Blackmore,
up the road.
Okay, yeah, I haven't played that.
Lovely deck. But I'm actually back playing cricket now, which turns out is quite hard at my age, and I still think I'm 21, and every time I play, I pull up injured. But I figure I can play golf for the next 30 years, and I've probably got 3-4 years left of cricket. So I'm
you're bowler or batsman, Ed?
Bowler, which is hard, really hard to
I was going to say fast bowler then, if you're pulling up injured. Yeah. I maybe start working on your leg breaks, mate.
I might turn to off spin and sort of lower.
Yeah.
Sorry, what is this language you boys are talking about? Cricket, what's that?
Should we go back to football? Let's get back to
yeah. Why not?
No, golf. Back to the golf.
Look, Tricky, you could choose to edit out this last 5 minutes of conversation about random sports that we're all interested in. That's fine. Right, I've finished the sour.
Yeah, sour absolutely got smashed like the other two.
Should we get on to it? What's the next beer?
I think we said Univector next year.
That's the only one I've
the
got at the minute.
That might slow me down at 6%. It's either that or I'm just going to be talking drivel for the next preceding half an hour, which wouldn't be a first time. So what's we had a few sort of technical things that we might have already kind of covered, but the whole sort of adaptation from homebrew to commercial. We had a few questions just in terms of, I think we talked a bit about hop utilization. We talked we've talked a lot about yeast already. What about packaging? You're canning a lot. You're kegging a lot. What about dissolved oxygen? Is that been a challenge for you?
Yeah, I would say I'll start with a tangent. That's right. I think the biggest thing for me going from homebrew to commercial is I've had to simplify a lot of recipes because I touched on this earlier. When you're just brewing every 2 weeks, one thing in I had everything the malt miller told me to build. I built basically. I've got an 8-tap Keezer that I don't really use anymore. That's going to move to the shed because it's like the best thing ever. And I basically just run my own tap room. My mates are like, we have to pay for your beer now. We had like 5 years just coming around and drinking it for free. Now we have to go to the pub. But yeah, big thing for me was I just designed a recipe and who cares what was in it? Because then I just go to the malt miller, use the recipe generator and produce a beer. Now I buy a lot of Viaman Premium Pilsner and I buy crisp from Pale Maris Otter. And I try and base my recipes roughly around 25 kilos of those. And then you have a less soup. And then I'll have wheat, oats, things like that. I'll buy 25 kilo bags and use 2-3 kilos of those, and they'll kind of go down. Dark beers, I'll go back to the malt miller and buy. I don't want to simplify it too much. My stout's got 10 different malts in it, but they're tiny amounts. The Rauch beer I mentioned earlier has got different things.
You don't want to be buying like 25 kilo sacks of obscure speciality malts that you're going to use.
And that's where
300 grams of and then leave it there for years, right?
Yeah. And I don't want to simplify. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I remember speaking to Robert the Maltman, and I was like, "You getting into this?" And he said, "Yeah, massively, because I'm tiny, but there's a lot of not much bigger than me, 2-3 times, who still, want to have loads of base malts, but the other beers you want freshness as well. So you're happy to pay 2-3 times more per kilo, but it's been freshly milled, it's delivered to you in a couple of days, and you chuck the whole bag in and done. Right, that's kind of forgotten about." And malt's not the most expensive part of any brew anyway, so so I've had to simplify quite a lot of my recipes to.
Although it has recently, it has jumped up quite a bit. Malt, I would say.
Yeah, true.
But
there's a lot of other.
It's coming back down a little bit.
It's coming back down. Yeah, it has. Yeah, but
I mean, has it outstripped anything else? Everything's got more expensive, isn't it?
Yeah. Electricity.
True.
So I don't know. I mean, the thing is, do you have a mill, Ed, or do you buy your malt?
That's what I was going to ask.
Milled?
Yeah.
No, I buy it milled. I spoke to I think you get. I watch less videos now about brewing than I used to as a home. I think as a homebrew, you're so obsessed and keen. Whereas now, I still am, and I do still like. I'm lucky. I really enjoy it, but I'm also trying to make money out of it, and it just changes.
Your education will be because you're brewing so much. You're actually probably at the forefront of what you need to know as well.
Yeah, potentially.
Because you're making the changes to what you're doing, so you probably find you're ahead. That's how Baggers is putting out so much content, because he's brewing so consistently now every week, if not more. So it's like you're now starting to educate others, and you'll be like that, Ed, where you've got the knowledge now, and then it's like you're basically doing your own testing. You probably find you could do a YouTube channel and teach people loads about brewing at the minute. Honestly,
in case you haven't got enough,
he doesn't need any more extra work. But yeah.
I'll tell my wife. Andy said I should start a YouTube channel. Can you video it?
Do that.
Yeah, and you can make money from YouTube as well. So that's
I'll just be doing another 5 hours of editing after the brew day. I'll see you later.
Yeah. But I think also it's. Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. No idea. That's completely.
We're talking about malt, melon malt.
Melon malt. So I spoke to a lot of breweries who are way bigger than me, and they said no, it's not a part of the brew day I need. So some do, obviously, and some homebrewers do, but essentially, all you're getting, and it particularly as I now are trying to basically open a bag fresh and use it all. My wheats and oats, which again, I'm trying to get less efficiency out anyway, right? If I'm getting as much efficiency out as I can of my base malt, the wheats and the oats are there for mouthfeel. I'm not getting as much extraction out of them anyway. it's just an unnecessary part of it. And again, I don't massively care about my efficiency. I'll try and hit it. Like I've had to do a lot of work on strike temperature because again, as a
Okay.
home brewer,
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
saves.
because the Grainfather, if it was slightly lower. Okay.
Dell's in the chat.
That's my best mate. He's
Yeah, he also
Nice.
says Andy's shit at golf and cricket isn't even a sport. So that's
Sorry.
that's the view from north of the border.
I just interrupted you there. That was really rude. I apologise. What were you saying?
Oh, good. Someone mill grain. Oh yeah, like essentially, it's not something I need to kind of enter into, and a lot of breweries don't as well. If I lose a little bit of efficiency, it doesn't matter. Strike temperature, I was saying, Grainfather, I would mash in at my mash temperature, and it would just, again, it's such a good little bit of kit. The heater would just heat it up because it's so small. Whereas now, if I miss my strike temperature, I've got 180 liters of water sat there. I can't heat that quickly, and once I started mashing in, I'm stuck. So I've had to work a lot of really making sure that's important. So Brewfather does again a great job, but you have to dial that in quite early and reset. Like that was a big learning. When I get up early to do that, I'll recirculate the water to make sure my mash tun's nice and warm, particularly in the winter. Else you miss that, and that's quite hard to recover from. You know, if I miss my efficiency, I can add sugar or I can add water if I'm one way or the other. If I've mashed in at too low a temperature, it's going to finish low.
Really,
it's the whole I think Rich, I think it was your video about Sonoma. You mash it like silly hot, right?
Yeah,
You're trying to get a really high kind of finishing gravity.
And the guy from Track, Matt Dutton, I think, was the one that really put us onto that. And he was like, no, you can go like 70? Right up into the 70s and it will be fine.
Yeah.
But
72.
just as long as it doesn't go like, mid 70s, then you're generally right. And it was kind of like, oh, okay. And then, you try it and it works. So, yeah.
And that's that NEPA sweetness, right? That you want to come through and you don't want to lose that. But that is a big learning for me. Commercially, is that strike. Whereas Grainfather, again, I keep hard back with grain. If I missed it, it heats as you recirculate it, right?
Yeah, you recirculate.
It's so easy, and it's 30 liters of water. Whereas for me, if I missed it, like early brews, I was like in there boiling the kettle as quick as I could to try and like get it. Because that's something you can't recover. Like you can add more sugar, but that's going to ferment fully out anyway if you're adding dextrose, right? So if you're missing your mash temps, that's pretty key.
Yeah,
more than anything.
Fundamental. Yeah. I remember chatting with Maverick, Hoddy at Maverick.
Yeah.
I think
just up the road.
When he went commercial, that was more or less kind of one of his key learnings. Was just like I remember him talking about his first brew and just that coming in at like 62 degrees or something, and just really fucking the beer.
He drained that.
I think he
poured
even just poured a couple, didn't he? It was just like, this isn't good enough. But it's a massive learning curve when you go onto a new kit, isn't it? Where you just have, you realise there's
that's not a commercial thing, right? That's just any new. My first Grainfather brew was absolutely mental, but I think it recovers it better.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
You're not tempted by a Brew Tools
system?
Given you're such a Brew Tools fanboy.
No, I don't think so. I did look at the original B150. I was looking, but actually no, I'm used to a 3-vessel system now. If I had to, I don't know what I want. I'm going to design it really. My house build. My wife would kill me if I buy a new brew kit before I finish building the house. So, but next year's the brew kit, and I want to be really. The guy I spoke to in Munich, who had again probably slightly bigger kit than me, and like 20 kind of vessels, like ferment, and he brewed 4 times in a day. So he brewed every Monday 4 times, but he had this brew kit. It was a 4-vessel system. It was incredible, and it like basically meant that he could be mashing in 3 hours after, and it was like. So he just was like, see, his bar was open Tuesday to Sunday.
Who does that?
And then Monday. So I want to speak to someone like him and be like, actually, does that model suit me? Where I just have like one or two crazy.
Treehouse do that.
What is the 4-vessel system? Sorry, so what's the 4th vessel?
Because what they do is they can then start another brew on the back of it, behind it, so they can do like a double brew day with a 4-vessel.
Yeah, but what's the 4th vessel though?
It's like you've almost got like 2 mash tuns or 2 boil.
Right.
It's like so there's another one.
Or is it a lauter ton and then a mash ton and then a
don't know.
I'm guessing the longest part of a brew day, right, particularly for me, is when it's coming up to boil. So I think you can mash in for an hour, clean that out pretty quickly. You can always have one boiling and one coming to the boil. So I think it was that, but I'd been drinking against the Hellas for.
Yeah, no. To be fair, that would make sense probably to have the two kettles rather than
pretty much
double mash tuns.
But I don't know. So wait, let's put mash tun, lauter tun. Well,
I think it would be.
But then is it? I'm sure there is a system where it allows basically you're doing 2 brews in the one day, and then it allows you to stage it, sort of thing. Because a lot.
Well, if you have the lauter ton, that basically means you're sort of at that point you can split away the sparging onto a separate system, and then you go straight in with a mash for the next batch fairly quickly. So I guess that does allow you to have the two running pretty close together time wise. But yeah, I don't really know enough about it.
That sounds like a hectic brew day, though.
It does.
Trying to figure out, like, especially if it's
I think
styles.
For me,
a video on it.
Yeah, I think you want to brew. The big thing for me commercially is I want to brew something I really enjoy. Like I love my brew kit. I got a second, third hand elite stainless fermentation, and
it looks cool. I like it. Yeah.
It's really nice. It's super easy to use. I've brewed on way bigger kits at collabs, and I do like. I wouldn't go cheap on my brew kit from a kind of like you're using it constantly. And B, you want to enjoy it. Like, I do this for enjoyment. I don't want to buy some cheap kit from wherever and not enjoy brewing on it. So I think there's a lot of secondhand brew kits kicking around, and I'll look at that market first. But I want to buy a decent brew kit because that's pretty key for you.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm with you, right? It's sort of death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it? Like, the more inefficient and difficult you make a brew day, like, the more you're going to not enjoy it, the more difficult it becomes to run a business, right? Yeah.
And I think they are easily my most enjoyable days. The brew day itself, it's famously quite a small part of a brewer's life because you've got your cleaning down. Packaging's fairly boring, but I'm kind of getting into it more. That's a big learning as well. Packaging, just chucking, from a whatever fermenter into a corny is very different to carb stoning. Make sure you're perfect. Dumping your yeast. First time I dumped yeast, I thought it was really easy, and you just did it. But actually, it's got to be gradual. So on a homebrew kit, you dump once and it's done. Commercially, and that again is the beauty of being here. If I had a unit 10 minutes up the road, when I'm dumping yeast, I want to be doing it every 2 hours, little and often, to get your yield up. But actually, if I had to drive 10 minutes, you just go once a day and really push it, and then you're starting to lose beer. But you need to wait for it to have really dropped out, and then I just take as thick as I can. So I'm just here doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Just tell the kids to watch TV, and then go and dump some yeast or whatever.
What are you doing? Are you capping? So are you capping and using natural carbonation, or are you force?
A bit of both. So I'll So yeah, I'll ferment under pressure as much as possible.
Yep. To get
some kudos coming in for the old Nipa, mate.
Yeah, I've not moved to it yet. But yeah, I'll ferment under pressure unless I'm
gone.
Yeah, Rich is flying.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, cheers. I'll ferment under pressure where possible, but I'll do some runs where, particularly this time of year, I get a lot of festivals reach out to me, a lot of kind of local, mainly Canberra festivals, and they want something interesting in cask, which I don't tend to do in cask. So I won't ferment under pressure, and I'll just get the cask out, and then I'll use a carb stone. But I have to do both because once I'll tend to ferment under pressure, crash cool it down, and then I'll just chuck a bit more CO2 in general. That would be my standard.
Yeah, kind of similar. What we would do normally. Yeah, similar. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the unit vector?
Yeah, lots of positive feedback coming in the chat, and I think it's delicious.
Super smooth.
Thank you. So this is so I did a a triple vector series. This was like late last year, where I wanted to just produce some like, kind of fairly drinkable Nipas, a style that I can sit here and say I love brewing Dunkels and wit beers and I do, and different things, but I love a Nipa as much as the next person. So I can moan that there's too many of them around and that's all pubs want to buy. I love them. So the reason I included this is because I've tweeted this quite a bit. So this was my first foray so I did Eigenvector, which was Galaxy Citra. This is Nectaron Simcoe. And then I did Tangent Vector, which is Crush Mosaic, I think, to try and like do different blends. First 2 times I brewed these, I got very excited about hop oils, essentially. So using various different things. And the first time I tried brewing with these, I went for a full dry hop of oils instead of hops. The flavor was incredible, but I learned something. You lost so much mouthfeel. So I've really changed this now because basically what I've learned from doing this, and you don't notice as much in homebrew, is when you start to get these big dry hops in, you lose so much beer from that. The bigger the dry hop, the more, particularly when I've been brewing some big dippers and stuff. So you do need to start to use, and there's some really good. Andy Parker's someone the whole industry looks up to, right? But he's done some good talks about that. But you're starting to use hop oils, but you have to use them as additives. The reason I did this was to talk about, I tried using this as just hop oil. And I do a cold IPA where all my dry hop is just hop oils.
When you say hop oil, is that Spectrum or
it's the
oil
it's
extract or?
It's the Quantum Abstract, so it's pure hops, basically.
Okay, yeah.
They're great.
What's the new one, Tricky? What's the...
Prisma?
Prisma. Have you heard about this, Ed?
Yeah, there's quite a few, aren't there, of like the different. But again, they're like I think they're getting better. They've gone from being hop. What's Madry, right? That uses some sort of nonsense hop oil. It's basically Carling with hop oil in, but taken over the UK. So these are proper hop derived because it's all the good stuff without any of the matter. But the issue is, you lose so much mouthfeel, and I just went for this. Like, oh, cool, this is great, and I got really excited about them, read a load about them, and just used them. And I was like, the mouthfeel was just off. Whereas this is 50-50, and you actually end up.
I'm like, this isn't the mouthfeel isn't off in this. The mouthfeel in this is like
a lot of the with a lot of those products, they do seem to like recommend it works better with some hot pellets in there, like you say, probably for that reason, but also I think for the efficiency of how it actually just works in the brew house as well. So, but I mean, not wanting to sort of blow too much smoke up your arse, Ed, but this you obviously get to taste a lot of Nipas that taste like, oh, it's the latest Nipa that we've done, and we've just thrown all loads of new hops in it, and this is what it came out as. I'd describe this as a Nipa that tastes like it's a very well considered and sort of honed in recipe for me, because it just seems to really have such a great balance of it's juicy, but it's not claggy, and it's
no, but it's got that nice. It's not dryness, but
it's got good mouthfeel, but still exactly good mouthfeel, but still sort of
drinkability,
a little bit of bitterness and drinkability to it. So
nailed. And it's nailed.
Yeah,
very well
I think that's that is a really really good beer and a very well considered recipe.
How much is a keg, Ed? Out of interest.
Put around tomorrow.
Yeah,
cash.
Yeah. I'm in the office on Tuesday.
And just for context, this is coming from somebody who's publicly stated. I'm becoming a bit jaded with hazy beers recently, and a lot of beers from very big commercial breweries that I really like. I'm just not enjoying that much anymore, and that kind of makes you think why this is what it's supposed to be like.
It's a bitterness, isn't it? Tricky. Just that.
I think that's a big part of it, but it's also just not just pursuing this sort of such a thick mouthfeel that it becomes hop soup,
yeah.
And that's such a overly overly hopped, kind of saturated hop flavor that it becomes, like drinking a sort of, literally hot tea sort of thing.
Maybe don't drink double ratio next, because that's basically hop tea. But it's a dipper, right? So
Well, I'm working up to it. I'm working up to it.
Yeah.
So that's the
Be
key.
fine by then.
I think I'm going to enjoy that on another day, given my trip down to Lewis tomorrow. But I might enjoy your stout in the after party.
I know. Don't worry, we'll tease him into it.
No, you won't. I'm really enjoying this. It's an excellent IPA, and
It was a good order of beers actually, because I think we're
Working up.
they're all good, but I feel like they're sort of we're kind of going in order of my favourites almost as well. Well, I say that for me, it'd be difficult for me to say whether I enjoyed the sour or the Nipah the most, but those are definitely my two favourites so far.
I think that.
No, but
I'll be hard.
Yeah.
I'll be
I
hard
bet-
to call which was my favourite. I've enjoyed every one of them for different
Exactly.
reasons.
that was the thing, because like
Yeah.
the Kulsh was like
Yeah.
was insane.
Well, no, yeah, and then I say that, but like as a session beer, loved that one
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah, like
It's just-
each one, I was like, "Oh, I'd love that in tap. I'd love that in tap. I'd love that in tap." Is that like?
But I do brew them for different. Like this is a can of this is like, and this is not to harp on, but this is frustrates me at Untapped. But I've probably been that person as well. Which one's better? Like the whole, I've put out some, I think, quite bad dippers that I've almost not sold, and they score
Yeah.
really well on Untapped. And I'm like, it's not a good beer. I've just
Garlic.
thrown loads of hops in it. Yeah, it's literally hot burn, but because it's 8.4 and I don't know, or Impy Stout's always overscored.
Oh, barrel
we
aged
can all
Impy
remember.
Stouts
Don't listen.
are ultimately the winner of Untapped, aren't they?
Yeah,
every time
It's like, well done.
4.9 instantly.
You've reached the top of the ladder of being a beer nerd where you can
Yeah.
really enjoy a barrel aged Imperial Stout. It's like great.
but then
well done.
you go full circle, right? And I'm now
Yeah.
that I'm
Wagga
now that
boy.
slightly. I'm like a like commercial brewer, and I'm like I only really drink Helles.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
Alright,
now
okay, yeah,
now I
that's
just
it.
want to drink 4% lager.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's I've got Hellas and Tank, like
Oh.
a double batch of Hellas, and it's like full circle back to
Oh,
that.
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
to be
think-
fair,
I think-
all my planned brews are like 4 to 5%, just
Yeah.
straight lagers. I'm just
I
like,
think
I
it's
just want
straight
lagers. Just want lagers.
Just one lager. That's it. That's all I want to make.
We'll get bored of that, and we'll go. Oh, do you know what? I could really do with a Citra Nelson beer
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. You know.
Or you sort of,
It's
or you head down the route of like spawn beers, and you get like super nerdy about weird cultures, and you kind of go,
I want pineapple and stuff in my beer.
Yeah, I can't drink
Then you buy
anything
a
unless it's
barrel
been like aging
and-
with germs in it for 2 years or whatever.
yeah, and you buy a microscope and
That's
start
not-
counting cells, and
It's not a
that's
daily.
another whole,
It's not a daily drinker though.
and you
and-
join the Milk the Funk Facebook group and really enjoy it, because I'm not sure anyone really enjoys that Facebook group, but
Nah.
But
It's
you
like,
don't, like beer is it's occasional, right? Like in terms of when there's a heat wave on. I went,
Oh.
as I mentioned, I went to Trent Bridge, we're back to cricket, but all I wanted, I said as we walked in, if there's Augustina Helles on tap, I'm having the best day. I know there won't be, but if there was, I'm having the best day ever.
What did they have
In
on
that-
tap out of interest, Ed? What was what were your drinking options?
Tenants,
Oh, it
In
wasn't
Trent
great.
Bridge, I doubt it.
Madry, they had Madry. on
We
tap.
basically, to be fair, we went. It was an average. We started with a really average
Beverly?
lager.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember. We
Some
had two
some of the
average
test
lagers.
grounds do actually have a few like craft-ish
Lost.
beers on,
yeah.
but
Fucking
yeah,
hell, dude.
nothing that exciting.
We ended up drinking rosé and Pims because
Oh.
that was the best options
Pims.
in the heat, which was
Thames
delicious.
is
to be
good too,
fair.
actually. Yeah.
It was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. That is probably quintessential English
Yeah.
drinking.
Pretty cricket watch,
Pims,
very.
yeah, yeah.
Pims is quintessentially British.
Pim's the
isn't
clock.
Mm.
Yeah.
it? Yeah,
Why not?
can't go wrong there.
No.
Of course, Wimbledon's on at the moment, isn't it? Ed, I reckon the last thing we're going to do is bully you until you give us a recipe. Which one do you want to give us?
3.8 elegant proof, please.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, I think that's the
Great
one.
shout.
Because I think the sours.
Although that's
the
going to
sour's
be
just
tricky.
the sour's just a boring sour. Like sour's just your classic sour base, and then you throw some grapefruit. But my advice on that is use whole fruit. Would be the only thing. The lagers just use great ingredients and chuck high voltage at it. But yeah, elegant proof I think is the one. That's the most interesting recipe. The Nipa's a classic kind of get your base malts and then loads of wheats, loads of oat. Your classic get your mouthfeel in. Water profiles we haven't touched the water profile too much.
Go on.
Should we nail down water for 10 minutes?
I can't.
Just for fun.
I'm going to reference Andy Parker for the 5th time of the thing because he's
he's a legend.
Yeah. I really nearly went RO, and then I read. I think it might be his book actually. He talks about it, and it's very wasteful to go RO water, and actually you can do a pretty good job from without. So I do take a lot of care on my water profiles. I don't use any kind of. A lot of brewers who go down the Murphy's route and use kind of all their additions. I just go back to pure salts, and it's also the mathsy part as well.
Yeah.
And it's not over it. It was the bit that scared me for ages. It was the last bit that came to my home brewing because I was like, "Oh, this looks really complicated." Actually, when you work it down, you basically just take a regular water reading of your local water, which is pretty easy to get. Malt Miller do a version with Murphy's. Everyone can do it. And you just dial back. Are you going to get perfect as ROing back to 0 and adding in? No. But actually, the styles I brew, I'm lucky. I've got relatively neutral. It's hard, but it's not like London hard. It's not crazy. And I can generally make it work. And I do my water additions. I've gone phosphoric over lactic acid because, again, I get it. So I just get it through Murphy's, which is it's hazardous, so it's harder to get. But lactic can add a slight sourness, right? If you used to. And for some of my Nipas, I was really pushing it, and I was getting a slight sourness. So I use phosphoric for that. But I use the kind of standard salts. I make sure I do my water profiles for every brew. And what's your
go-to water profile, Ed? Is it what do you like using? Like calcium, sodium chloride.
I use a huge amount. So I use brim water, the kind of classic spreadsheet, and I use a lot of Epsom and canning salt are my go-tos.
All right, okay, yeah.
Based on how that's just how it comes out. I'll build my water profiles based on do I want loads of bitterness? Again, West Coast, kind of how I want the different things, but it generally comes out as plenty of acid to kind of push that, and then Epsom and canning salt are the two I tend to run out of pretty quick. And another plug for I use
because your base? Is that because your base is quite high?
It's because of my base. Yeah, because my base is quite high. So I never use gypsum. I mean, I use a little bit of gypsum. I use a tiny bit of calcium chloride, but it tends to work out that canning salt and Epsom salt are the two I use a lot of.
No, why using what did you say? What was the other one? So you've got canning salt, and what's the other one? The Epsom salt.
Epsom salt.
Is that for your yeast health?
No, it's just based on the price. It's just balancing all the different kind of like.
Because that's magnesium sulfate, isn't it?
Magnesium sulfate, yeah.
It's just to get
the magnesium up. Then you want to add that. Of course, it's going to add a bit of sulfate. But if your water's already got quite a lot of sulfate in it, then you're trying to balance things, aren't you?
I'm just trying to add in what it's adding. So I'm adding quite a lot of it's mainly the sulfates. So Epsom salt, I'm adding a lot of sulfates, that tiny amount. And I don't really my magnesium's low enough that I don't care. So it's a really good way of adding sulfates. Because the other way of adding sulfates for me would be to add gypsum. But I've got really high calcium, so therefore I don't use that because it uses that. This is getting really geeky. I hope everyone.
No, that's cool. That's really cool.
We absolutely love it.
Don't forget. This is geek.
This is a relatively short disappear down the rabbit hole water profile discussion.
I mean, I've got brim water because I'm looking, and the reason is I have pretty high calcium. So to add in sulfates, if I add in gypsum, it adds too much calcium.
Yeah.
And to get my chlorides up, if I add in too much calcium chloride, obviously that adds calcium as well. So therefore, I tend to use Epsom and gypsum salts. My dark beers are then rare. I mean, if I'm using dark beers, I'll go the other way. Bit of baking soda, which is literally out of the baking cupboard, and then a bit of chalk as well. But in general, yeah, the beers I brew based on my profile, a lot of Epsom salt, a lot of canning salt, and then phosphoric acid, which I don't think lactic gave me a bad result, but I read a few articles about adding sourness, and I think when I really started to push the NEPAs and really try and get that acidity in there, it was adding an off flavour slightly, which phosphoric just doesn't do. It's a lot cleaner, but it's hard to get hold of.
Yeah, it's hard for a homebrewed scale. And was it Chris who used to be on the pod? He used to push a lot. He loved phosphoric, but now I think to get it in homebrew scale, it's nigh impossible because not a lot of people do it.
You just can't get it anymore.
Yeah,
and because it's gone onto some kind of bomb making
it's restricted
list.
list.
Owen, when you're picking up a keg of unit vector, do you want me to give you a little bag of phosphoric acid? Would that be
yeah,
sort me out, mate. Sort me out. You become my new dealer, Red. Yeah, I'll call you and we'll meet in a car park behind a dodgy.
Just outside South Chailey.
I'm not sure there's any dodgy parts of Petersfield, to be quite honest.
That's cool.
Where you work's probably the dodgy part, right?
Yes, probably is, to be fair. Down the industrial part.
And for the rest of our listeners, if you get in contact with Owen, he'll be able to sort you out with illicit
to be
supply.
fair, I was kind of lucky on the phosphoric.
Patreons.
Yeah, I was lucky because I think I managed to snap up some right at the sort of tail end of when they put that ban in. So I managed to get a couple of bottles. So I think I've got about.
You're okay?
I've got about 100 mils
fine.
of phosphoric, which should actually keep me
3
going
4
for
years.
at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But I've actually interestingly sort of started to revert to using lactic.
I use lactic. I've always used lactic.
Because I don't actually mind in a lot of styles having that kind of slight sour note. Particularly, I like you, Ed, I really enjoy making hoppy, hazy beer styles, although admittedly I make a lot of other beer styles, but that's kind of the one I probably make the most of. And I don't mind lactic in that, in terms of the fact that it adds just a little bit of
twang. Nice.
I think that helps lift the hop character.
Yeah. I'd push it that way. If I'm not sure which way one thing I need to invest in is a decent pH, and I keep buying cheap pH reading because they are so affordable, and to get a decent one, they are like a small fortune. Exactly. So I keep just waiting until they break, basically, and just make sure you. But I go lower. I'd rather be lower and have a little bit of acidity coming through. Yeah, so I don't think you notice it. Whereas actually, I don't think if you do get your water profile right, that was a big change for me. You spoke briefly about like oxygen, and I think that's way easier on commercial kit. Well, it's just better kit. I've gone from fermenting buckets. I remember doing my first NEPA. Yeah, they're like
you're pressure fermenters. You're full stainless pressure.
And they're better than most like bigger in terms of like. And I use the kind of what's it even called? Where the hops with you get all the CO2 out when you do a big dry hop.
Oh, the hop bomb.
The hop. Yeah, they're incredible. Apart from it's the world's hardest thing to use, the big ones. Oh my god! It just the black seal on that is like impossible, particularly in a heat wave when you're trying to dry hop. It's a nightmare. You have to end up hitting it basically because it gets stuck. But that's about as good as it gets. Like even a big brewery wouldn't have much better than that.
Ed, why did you go brew tools for all your fermenters? Why did you do the big outlay on that rather than, or was what was available in that size? What was the drive, or was it available?
A little bit. Great question. Why did I?
Availability, maybe.
I'm not sure it was. It was just. So I purchased all through Malt Miller. So Stiffo sorted me out with that. I just kind of and I paid a bit of a premium. I probably got slightly cheaper going through Brew Tools, but I'd worked with Malt Miller for ages, and I also. I remember speaking to Stiffo about this. I was like, I didn't owe them anything, but I got so much joy out of the 5 years of homebrewing through their channel and their videos and like the keys I built was because of them. Like the kind of, I bought the old fridge and
fault.
put an Inkbird in it and did all that. And
Yeah.
I bought all of my kit through them. And I was like, you know what? And I think it is about as good as it. And I'm lucky enough now to get to go on collab days and stuff. I've not seen much better, in terms and the scale I want to be at. So I'm planning on buying 2 more F300s, and I will stick with Brutals. They're, I had the guys here from Tenton the other day in a collab, and they've got 500 litres from it, and they're like, that's never 300 because the quality of the steel is they're quite small bits of kit. Whereas you get to the bigger, and it's just the walls are thicker, they take up more space. And what I want to stay small, as I said, in my garage, so I'm going to stick with them. And I just wanted to stick with one brand. My brew kit was dirt cheap because it's a secondhand brew kit, and I didn't, bacteria doesn't really matter at that point. I deep clean it, but you're boiling everything.
Yeah.
I spoke to a lot of brewers who are like, do not skimp on your fermenters because you can get secondhand, but only one of them needs a tiny scratch in. Get some bacteria in there, and that's just batches and batches ruined. You never work out why, and your kind of name's gone. So I wanted to go premium, and at the time, I just wanted to stay with them. And so no massive reason, but yeah, I there was a little bit of loyalty to the Malt Miller in terms of they'd given me a lot of joy of homebrewing over 5-10 years, and I was like, fine, and that was the best they did.
But
and I love
this
it.
is the thing. Who does a 300-litre fermentation vessel? That's that scale. It's like you know that I think Brutals does fill that market. Whereas if you were, you would need to go like you would need to probably sort out a commission with a Chinese builder or something to go bespoke, and then all the importation. Like we've heard the stories about importing those sort of tanks and. Whereas if you can just go, Brutals from is it? Where are they? Where's Brutals based? Is it
Norway?
It's
Norway,
yeah.
and then straight, it's so much easier.
But then, that must have been a hell of a day when all of those arrived from the Malt Miller. Like, was it on like pallets and shit like that?
I don't think it was all one. I think I got one 150 first, and the second 150 and 300 came, and that was when they just. Partnered with Linda, so I got my glycol through them as well.
Oh, nice.
And then I started using the FCS because I got the FCS. FCS.
Are you doing the FCS for your
only on
temperature
one?
control?
Only on one of I mean,
right, okay.
Because I remember speaking to Stiffer at the time. I was like, "Can I come see your kit?" Because I got it before. I think I went direct to Brutals that, or I was like the first to kind of get it, and they were like buzzing about it. And it's amazing. I would say.
Do you need?
I've seen breweries who have FCS on every. You need it for every kit. I would say it's a massive outlay. It's really fun to play with. A good old fashioned Inkbird and a heating element and your glycol does a very good job. And just a little bit of attention, it saves a bit of time. And I actually think the FCS would be like amazing if you weren't living next to your brewery. But I can go and check mine 10 times a day. So
good point. Good.
Or
wow!
Or you could build one craft beer pie and just do your own.
I don't have that sort of skill set. But
you need to be an electrical engineer to be fair.
Yeah, you said you were a nerd, Ed. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Me and
I've been out nerded.
Yeah. Heat up your soldering iron, Andy. Because
exactly.
Nerding everyone.
Yeah, if you went to that's a bit more, but then it's.
You're on mute, Tricky.
I was just saying he's been trying to sell me on the idea of craft beer pie for years, and I'm just like, I'd rather just switch it on at the wall, thanks.
You're more sort of plug and play, Rich. You're like...
I'm more just all I can cope with is on off, and that's about it.
It's weird. I love the FCS. I love Bruce. Like their kit is incredible. It's built to last. It's amazing. But I've got like 3 of my fermenters. Just I've no issue. No, not issues. But just 3 of my kits. 3 of my kits just on Inkbirds, and they're just like that's fine. I just need temperature control.
What was the one that remember we were at the homebrew conference, guys? What was the one we did? Was it in what was that called?
Love and Beer.
Love and Beer. What was the brewery we were in? Hackney.
Oh, is that the?
What was that called? Hackney Town? No.
You can buy beer from them.
Was this first Love and Beer?
No,
No, it wasn't Love and Beer.
This was
No, not
year.
Love. Before Love and Beer, when we did with Brookegg Tap. What was that brewery we were in Hackney?
Oh, that was it's
Beer
subsequently
Merchants.
closed, doesn't it?
No, it's closed. But they had Inkbirds on. They had like blooming Inkbirds on each of the fermenters, 1,000 litre or 1,200 litre fermenters, and they had Inkbirds.
Being controlled by like a £20
Yeah.
bit of kit. Yeah.
And it was like it had a heating blanket, a bed's heating blanket or whatever underneath to control the heating, and then it just needs to trip on the valve for the pump from the glycol. It's like it doesn't need to be complicated. The cool thing with Brutals is like Brutals are innovating, so they can then you can control remotely your pressure in your tank.
That's cool.
It agitates as well if you need to agitate, but like the only thing is it's all new tech, so there's teething issues there. So
I also think that the big appeal is the shiny big screen. If I'm honest,
I mean, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
like just telling it as it is. People like a dedicated iPad that goes.
But what I would say about
"This is what's
Brutals
going
is,
on."
their actual fermenters. You can say FCS is overkill if
insane.
you want it, but they're just general fermenters with an Inkbird is sensational.
Yeah.
Everything they
I agree.
build, because I sort of agree. I'm glad I've done FCS, and I am gonna like massively overspec one of my fermenters with the agitator and everything. But actually, if I just look at their fermenter with their heating, the way their like heating jackets are bit like their glycol brackets are built in, it's incredible.
Ed, do you know what you need the FCS for? Lagering. I think if you've got a lager tank where you can do the one you want with FCS is the one where you can do that whole 12 degrees down to 6 degrees, slow, like 1 degrees of C, like slow
down,
crash.
Control it.
While it's still got a little bit of sugar left, and it's just doing that whole, what did we call it? It was the utopian fermentation method where they just slowly crash it down, and then what it's doing is still fermenting, but very slowly, just eating the residual sugars and carbonating that lager, and then it's eating up diacetyl as well. That's where it kind of comes in, and that's by the way, the craft beer pie does that as well. But like you say, you have to be an electronic engineer.
Yeah,
right?
that's very tough.
And you have to be very, very good with a soldering iron, because I have got a degree in electronic and electrical engineering, right? And hence why I can do that sort of stuff. And if you're not that kind of guy, forget it, right? Just forget it. So,
yeah, exactly that. Right, I think we are at the 2-hour mark. We ought to think about wrapping this podcast up. But before we go, I just wanted to give a shout out to anyone that fancies getting along to LCBF, which is the London Craft Beer Festival. That's happening on the 18th of July. 2/3 of the Hop Edition crew will be there. Probably the better 2/3, to be fair.
I'm glad. I'm not going to be there.
Andy's not going to be there, but me and
Thanks.
Tricky will be
I'm
there.
in France.
And more importantly, loads of the Patreons I know are going to be there as well. So we'll be in a big gang. So if you see us, if you fancy it, come by, say hi. It'll be really fun to
Go hang
enjoy
out.
some wacky beers together. The next episode, I think, is coming to you in a couple of weeks' time.
It's a week after LCBF, innit? We're going to do a wrap up. Oh no, is it the day? What are we
Yeah,
doing?
it better not be the day after. 'Cause
No, it's
I'm
not the day
gonna fucking
after.
make it
No,
there.
it's-
Not the day after.
it's
Yeah,
a week
I'll tell you
after.
that for
Yeah.
sure.
We're going to talk about LCBF.
I'll be
and-
curled up in a ball regretting my life choices the day after LCBF.
It's a historical brewing and LCBF wrap up show sort of thing. Is that right, Owen?
Something like that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the next episode is on the 24th of July.
You just can update me.
We'll give you, we'll give you an
Beers.
update on how LCBF
Yeah, we'll let you know.
went, as we do every
I'm
year.
gutted I'm missing it.
2 years in a
Great.
row, Andy. Poor form.
I
sir,
know
poor
that
form.
is, but they keep moving it and then they change it. Like we're normally quite up for it, and then
Yeah.
this year as well, we're not even getting Love and Beer, which is even worse.
Yeah, that's coming back next year, which will be even more fun, I'm sure. I want to say a massive thank you to Ed. It's
Yep.
been a wonderful evening. Really, really enjoyed this. Appreciate you sorting out the drink along. I know everyone in the chat that has been drinking along have enjoyed every single beer, as have I. Absolute bangers from start to finish. So it's been a real pleasure, Ed. Thank you for coming along. Any final thoughts, Ed? How do you want to wrap up?
Well, no pressure. No one told me how to wrap up. I mean,
Any
I guess my
final
only.
comments?
If I look at, like, I would say, I'm guessing a lot of your listeners are kind of, big home brewer. Like, it's not that tricky to move to commercial. Like, you don't have to go that big. You can, the licensing's it's slightly painful. It's not massively expensive. And if anyone wants to reach out, I spoke to loads of people, and I would do that. Speak to people. But if you want to, you're like, oh, cool, I could produce some good beer. And I've had homebrew that's a lot better than a lot of commercial breweries. And there's no reason yours isn't. Like, people like the Malt Miller, produce incredible products. I always talk to friends about, wine, you have to own a vineyard. Beer, you can have the same ingredients as Verdant, Track, Beak, like some of the kind of great breweries in this country do. So, yeah, I'd encourage anyone to take a look at it. You don't have to do what I did and, just get rid of your job and risk everything and try and do it. But it's a lot of fun. And yeah,
Ed,
it's been a lot of fun.
This is
Thank
a
you.
full-time gig for you, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah,
Plus bar work. You were saying there's bits and bobs.
A bit, but so basically, I left a 15-year Waitrose career last May because I just had enough of the commercial world. And as I said, when I joined this course, I was like, this is weird because I used to do this for 12 hours a day and was pretty miserable by the end of it. But yeah, it will be. I left to renovate my house with, I'm mainly labouring. I'm pretty unskilled, but I'm happy to lug some bricks and stuff around. But yeah, I think there's a business model in it. I don't want to be too big. I don't want to take over the world, but producing nice local beers that kind of reach out to people like this who, big geeks who appreciate the kind of different styles and will appreciate the fact I've used whole damsons and not damson puree. It's kind of one of my markets, and also local people who want to drink, good beer and community focus. Then, I love this industry. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, this will be full time from next year, basically. So,
Sweet.
yeah,
Okay. Cool.
Amazing.
Cool.
Well,
There you go.
I for one will be tapping you up for some more beer, Ed. Whilst
Yeah, I'm thinking that.
please do.
I happen to work in Petersfield, so by all accounts, according to Ed, he's not far from where I work. So
Not at all, no.
That's a very useful thing to know, or potentially dangerous, but we'll see. We'll see. So, guys, shall we wrap it up there?
I think so. Yep.
Yep.
Right. That's
Happy days.
luego. See you in the next podcast.
Yep. See you later.